We're now waiting for match 2, day 2 of the Magic, and St Helens and Warrington go head-to-head for a third year in a row at this event. Big question, can the champions get the verdict on neutral territory for the first time against the team that they have dominated throughout the 20 seasons of Super League? Well, the results so far, and really today's result of a 22-all draw only tells half the story. Catalan Dragons 22, Huddersfield 22, so much to talk about, so much to think about, so much to reflect after that dramatic second half that we've just witnessed here. Catalan and Huddersfield sharing the spoils, the first ever draw between those two sides. And it means that St Helens now, with the opportunity of going within a point of Leeds Rhinos, the league leaders, and overtaking the Wigan Warriors, who got the verdict against Leeds yesterday. And it is Huddersfield who are fourth, and Warrington, well, they're fifth, and they can make a significant move, maybe, certainly in terms of the points, but not in terms of points scored. It would take a massive, massive win against St Helens for them to move up the table. It's all set fair, though. The sun is shining again on the Magic weekend, and this is the way the two sides will line up. Saints have got Shannon McDonald at fullback, then it's Tommy Makinson, Matty Fleming, Jordan Turner and Adam Swift. Travis Burns is alongside John Wilkin, who is the skipper. The forwards, Alex Walmsley, James Roby, Kyle Moore, Mark Flanagan, Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook and Josh Jones. And awaiting their chance on the bench, Mossy Massoy, Luke Thompson, Greg Richards and Andre Savelio, and the coach is Kieran Cunningham. For Warrington, this is the way they line up. They welcome back their skipper Joel Monaghan. Ratchford is the full-back. Then it's Monaghan on the wing alongside Chris Bridge, Ryan Atkins and Gene Ormsby. Declan Patton and Richie Myler in the halves. The forwards, Chris Hill, Darryl Clark and Ashton Sims. Ben Curry, Ben Westwood, Ben Harrison. Three big Bens at the back of the scrum with Roy Asataji, James Laithwaite, Brad Dwyer and George King waiting the nod from coach Tony Smith. So this St Helens dressing room, here they are hoping to get their first win on neutral territory against Warrington for the very first time. And Warrington, you know, no team has got a better Magic record than them. They've won 6 of 8 fixtures at this event, including the last 3 at Manchester's Etihad Stadium. Warrington here in numbers, Saints likewise. I've noticed jerseys, we've all noticed jerseys of the two clubs in evidence here in Newcastle over the past 2 days, and now the moment that they have been waiting for. Warrington, they've redressed the balance slightly over the recent past, but they've won just 9 of 51 encounters with St Helens. But is today going to be a glorious day for them, or will the champions prevail, with John Wilkin again continuing in his makeshift half-back role? Colourful scene again. Lots of anticipation for this match, and none more so, I'm sure, involving John Wilkin, who's waiting to lead the St Helens team out. Joel Monaghan makes a return. He's going to lead the team out. Phil Clark has done a significant change for Warrington.
Out with the side. I'm waiting to see a Warrington team that attacks like I thought they could a couple of seasons ago. Last week in the game, they scored lots of points, but it was really made up along the way. And I don't really rate Warrington's chances this season until they come up with a significant win. This could be the chance for them to do it today.
And Steve-O, one of the big clashes of this match, the two hookers. Roby against Clark.
Sure is. It's something that I've been looking forward for quite some time, in regard to the fact both have won the Man of Steel and both are outstanding players. James Roby, we want to put one over Darryl Clark, who is desperate to make sure that he gets himself involved in the internationals at the end of the year. James Roby has not given up the opportunity. He still wants to play at international level. This should be the big showdown between the two best hookers in Super League.
Okay, which is billed as the biggest match of the second day of the Magic, and it'll have to go a bit to beat the drama, the controversy and the talking points we've seen in the second half of the first. Saints against Warrington then. Brian Carney is upstairs now alongside Barry and Terry, and first voice we'll hear is that of Rod Stone.
Thanks, Eddie. It's champions against challengers, it's Saints against Warrington, it's two of the Super League's superpowers looking to close the gap on the league-leading Leeds Rhinos, who were beaten yesterday by Wigan. The Rhinos have 23 points, Saints have 20, and Warrington, after an erratic first 15 games, have 16. But if the Wolves were to shake the Saints here, they would really start to close the gap on the top four. The top 8, the key finishing positions in the first 23 rounds. After that, only the final 4 will make the semi-finals as the race for Old Trafford hots up. Our referee is Richard Silverwood this afternoon here at St James's Park, where the weather has brightened up for this big match between the Wolves and the Saints. When they met earlier on in the season at Langtry Park, St Helens won 32-24. That was flattering to Warrington, who scored a couple of late tries which were really meaningless. I wonder if Saints can reassert their authority this afternoon. What do you reckon, Terry O'Connor?
I think it's going to be a fabulous game. I think Richard Silverwood, we talked about him being the referee in this encounter. He'll have a big influence on the speed of the game, and the ruck dictates the speed of the rugby league. And if you look at both hookers, and Steve O's talked about one man of steel and the current man of steel in Darryl Clark, and the other one in James Roby, you've got two very intelligent players. But this is where it's going to be won. The likes of Alex Walmsley ramping up. You know, he's made most carries, most metres, and the third in Super League for tackle ball, so he's a fabulous player.
Saints with first use then, running from right to left in their famous white with the red V, and Warrington in blue this afternoon. And Saints have first chance to get first crack at the Warrington Wolves. The time was back in the early days of Super League. There were 3 certainties: death, taxes, and that St Helens would beat Warrington in Super League. Never got close to beating the Saints, but then on a breakthrough win in 2011, Warrington have got a pretty decent record now in recent meetings against St Helens. They've won 8 of the last 13 Super League clashes as Ratchford lets that drift over the dead ball line, and the Wolves will get to set up with a 20-metre restart. Gene Ormsby takes it up. Ormsby has been in fantastic form. 9 tries in his last 7 games, including that breathtakingly spectacular score against Salford, where he defied the laws of physics and gravity to get the ball down in the corner.
You know, if you look at Warrington, and Phil Clark was saying that he's not been convinced from this year, I thought they showed a lot of character last week when they played against Salford. They blew them away, but they lost Miley, they lost Harrison in the first half, and then they lost Chris Hill, who put his hand back up in the second half to go back on the pitch when they were under pressure. I think Tony Smith would have been very proud of the players that were on show, and like Ashton Sims, I talked about Alex Walmsley. Well, I've been very impressed with this man, because he's turned up in this country into Super League and he's ready to play.
Well, it's been a mystifying year for Warrington, really, because in and amongst the mediocre, there was 2 magnificent performances against Leeds, who they defeated home and away. And Leeds with only 4 defeats so far this season, half of those 4 to the Warrington Wolves, who've then gone on to struggle against teams much lower in the table. Travis Burns dropping the ball off, still really waiting to form a permanent partnership with his old sparring partner Luke Walsh, who's played just 5 games this season, is out again with a ankle problem, just had some minor surgery, should be back in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Here's Stefan Ratchford for the Warrington Wolves. He has Monaghan alongside him, making a return from injury himself, and Ratchford threatened dangerously to offload the ball under a 3-man tackle, but in the end allows himself to play the ball and find Monaghan.
This is a big part of Saints' game, especially this year. They kick in early, they like to try and kick it into the corner. Kicked on the 3rd play, and then this is where they really put the opposition under pressure. Just have a little look at the line speed. They get off the line, they get numbers in, they make that ruck slow, and they take the danger away from Darryl Clark.
Well, Eddie was pointing out before kick-off that Warrington have this superb Magic Weekend record, nobody better. 6 wins in 8 Magic stagings, 3 out of 3 at the Etihad, last 2 against St Helens, and they've taken to the cleaners a couple of times, and these scenarios and these settings seem to suit the Warrington Wolves. Big pitch, sunny day, dry surface now with the rain having abated. Oh, goodness me, as Patton gets that ball away, and he was absolutely clattered by Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook, and he got the ball away in the end and bounces up like a rubber ball, and Warrington now muscling their way forward.
Well,
Well, it's Warrington's turn to put a good kick in and try and put some pressure while they're defending. Going back to the kicking game, Tez, you mentioned how important, how crucial it will be. Everybody will concede that John Wilkin isn't best suited. They don't get the best out of him at Saints when they play him at 6 or at 7, but what you will get is that left foot. He can put it high, he can put it as high as he wants, and he's also got a powerful long kicking game as well.
Now Wilkin returning from a ban, missed the last game. That was a long ball from Travis Burns, which allowed Tommy Makinson to get some space, and Makinson threatens to burst through a challenge.
He might be the most influential man today, Rod. We see the kick coming here now from Travis Burns. Now he's going to shift it on. I'll come back to Makinson after this.
There's the kick. Straight to Stefan Ratchford and back to Brian Carney.
Yeah, I think if England who was being picked tomorrow, I think Tommy Makinson would be a shoe-in for it. He's had to fill in a full-back sometimes. They've now got Shan McDonald in there. He's in absolutely outstanding form. He can goal kick as well, returns the ball brilliantly. Very skillful player. Sometimes you think he's wasted out on the wing and might be better at full-back, but I think he might have a large say in who wins this game today.
11 tries this season for Makinson, a great try scorer, and more particularly a scorer of great tries. Some of the most acrobatic tries in Super League history have been scored by the wonderfully acrobatic Tommy Makinson.
He's like a stuntman, isn't he? Just 23 years of age. He's played 122 games in his career, and another fabulous young talent that we've got coming through.
Yeah, the master of the how did he do that try. Here's Chris Hill charging forward for the Warrington Wolves. He had an injury last week, as you alluded to, Terry, and you know, tremendous to see him putting his hand up once more. Here's the kick. Well, Joel Monaghan has spilled it forward, and not many better under the high ball than Joel Monaghan, but this time he couldn't quite reel it in.
Do you know, you play on the big stage, and you talked about Chris Hill being injured last week. Yeah, there'll be other players as well. Joel Monaghan goes to take that ball, he can't quite bring it in, but both sides will be carrying players into this game that are injured. They just keep putting it on up because it's a fabulous occasion. You don't get many opportunities during the year to play on the big stage, and this is a big stage. And remember Paul Wellens last year, after the post-match interview? Well, he criticised his teammates, and all of a sudden that seemed to inspire them towards the grand final.
Well, it was a savage interview from Wellens. Here's some super hands, and Makinson is released. Tommy Makinson charges forward. Oh, it's batted back. A try-saver, if ever there was one, from Ben Curry. Ben Curry got in between Makinson and the support player, and it was a crucial interjection from the second rower.
Well, Ben Curry's getting some praise from all different areas. Tony Smith, Steve McNamara, everybody calling for this man to play on the biggest stage, but Tommy Makinson, Brian's special for this match, does everything right. Do you think he should have backed himself there, Brian?
Well, it would have been interesting, Barry. He was trying to pull off a difficult pass, and you're right to compliment Curry getting in the way. Makinson, you're right, he's a man that could finish in the corner. We've seen it done many times, but they get a second bite of the cherry now. See what the Wolves can come up with in defence.
Shannon McDonald was looking to get on the inside in his second spell with Saints, had a brief spell as an emergency fullback last year, which was stopped at 3 games when he suffered a broken jaw. Back this year as Saints continue to have injury problems, with the likes of Lomax still missing. And here's Burns, that's spilled, it'll be picked up by Warrington, it'll be picked up by Richard Myler, and Myler scampers away to the 40-metre line before he's knocked down. One wonders whether Saints will rue that missed opportunity, or, if you prefer, that superb piece of defensive play from Ben Curry. Ratchford's ball finds the ground before it's picked up on the far side by Gene Ormsby. Ormsby with McCarthy Scarsbrook trying to reel him in. Ormsby just takes the tackle and is knocked down by Jones and by Kyler Moore.
And wasn't Gene Ormsby brilliant last week as well? We talked about the acrobatic Tommy Makinson, but he scored a hat-trick against Salford with some tremendous efforts. But both teams making mistakes, and there's going to be nerves as well. These teams would have watched what happened yesterday, watched the full 3 games, then they're on the second game today. So there's going to be some nerves. There's a lot at stake in this game.
Ryan Atkins, who by his own admission has not had the best of years for the Warrington Wolves. 19 tries in all competitions last year, just 3 so far this season, and we're around about halfway through the season. Ratchford is ankle tapped. McCarthy Scarsbrook comes in to effect the stop. Ratchford slow to get up. Curry, Patton puts boot to ball. Monaghan will try and get there. They'll try and shepherd him out of play. This is the last tackle. Monaghan prods it forward with the left boot. Adam Swift picks it up. Monaghan misses the tackle in goal. Swift gets away from another man and another and gets up to the 10-metre line.
Oh, beautiful work. Adam Swift needs to keep his nerve. He's under pressure from Warrington. It's a good kick, good regather from Joe Monaghan. And Adam Swift, I think, Some really, really exciting wingers and some talented players on the flanks in Super League these days.
Absolutely. And a rich vein of try scoring for Swift as well. 8 tries last 4 games. Roby hammers that. That is a very good kick by James Roby from dummy half, and it forces Ratchford back to his own 10-metre line. And then Ormsby says, let me have a run at them. Ormsby goes into some heavy traffic. 20 metres out.
Again, Rod, it's on the 3rd tackle, kicking into the corner, the big white line that's coming up, pressuring the opposition.
There's a Saints player down while he was making the tackle. I think he got his head in the wrong way. I'm struggling to see who it is.
Yeah, you're spot on, Barry. It's
not Roby, is it?
James Roby.
This could be a disaster for Saints. He has his head in the wrong way and wears a thigh from Gene Ormsby.
Yeah, Richard Silverwood has quite properly stopped play to allow Roby to get some attention. The 2007 Man of Steel, and Kieran Cunningham will be rather anxious. Roby, another man who's had his injury problems in the last couple of years. So many of St Helens' key players have had injuries over the last year or so. We mentioned Lomax, Walsh, Roby, Wilkin.
All the key players,
yeah,
all the big money signings, all the big contracts, who dictate who's going to win the game by how many points. And for James Roby to be leaving the pitch now with a concussion injury, obviously a big loss for Saints.
Well, Roby walks off, and well, we'll await confirmation from Angela on the sideline, but you'd have to say that's a pretty fair chance that that's going to be a concussion check for James Roby. And well, the first defeat of the season in the Super League was at Hull KR. Roby came off injured in that game, and he really is a highly influential operator.
It could be your game changer. He's that influential. Barry's right to reference it. Here we go. Penalty here for the Warrington Wolves and possession for them. But that could be the game changer on 8 minutes. James Roby heading down the tunnel. If he doesn't reappear on the field, he'll go away, get assessed. The medical staff, the St Helens side, will not take any chances with him. Here we go.
Ratchford, Stefan Ratchford scores the opening try of the match. Stefan Ratchford joining the line from fullback, gets his 5th Super League try of the season. Perfect running line from the Wolves fullback, and he's gliding in the corner to touchdown.
Well, he's so elusive, isn't he, Stefan Ratchford? Another player who's got so much time on the ball, but he's just got to hit a real hard line here. And what he always does, he turns up. Well, here's the penalty from Burns on Curry. You've got to make sure you're strong on Ben Curry, one of the best talents knocking around Super League. The youngster, the little tap play, the little pass, the soft hands from that man Ben Curry, who was awarded the penalty. He attracts the players, and the reason why Ben Curry attracts players is because he's so good. And as soon as Alex Walmsley makes the decision to sink in to try and stop Ben Curry, that's when the nice little passes onto that man.
And a lovely bit of deception as well from Ben Curry. Everybody thinks it's 1 in or 2 in to set the field position, so you can have a look, and the big shift play will come from that. But Ben Curry, we might just give a little bit of info, a bit of a nod and a wink to Stefan Ratchford and say, come with me, mate. And it's a short tip on. And after he scored the try, Stefan Ratchford does the joining Jack salute.
Well, Ratchford has many talents and many skills, but by his own admission, he wouldn't claim to be the most accurate goal kicker in Super League. It has been a problem for the Warrington Wolves. Chris Bridge has had a stab at it. Gareth O'Brien is not playing today also, but turning 4s into 6, particularly in playoff matches and cup ties, could be crucial. Ratchford, can he turn his own 4 into 6 here from way out on that far touchline? We saw Danny Brough land a touchline conversion for Huddersfield with the last kick of the match to win a draw for Huddersfield against Catalan not long ago. Missed it again, so the Wolves lead by 4-0. Ratchford's try goes unconverted.
Well, Barry's right. On so many occasions, penalties run to a certain pattern, and this isn't it. The decision by Ben Curry to tip on to Stefan Ratchford has caught the St Helens defence unawares. Recall yesterday in the Hull FC Hull KR game, a tap penalty. Danny Houghton and Gareth Ellis confusing Hull Kingston Rovers defence off a tap. You're asking questions of players that are not expecting you to come straight back at them. On that occasion, St Helens got caught out by some smart Warrington Wolves play.
Well, given Ratchford's talent and versatility, a surprise, really, an eyebrow raiser that he only has 1 international cap. He'll be looking to add to that in the autumn.
I think his strength is his weakness. He can play that many positions that he's He's been accused of not nailing down well. I love to watch him at fullback. I think the freedom that he has while he's at fullback really suits his game, but we've already debated the great fullbacks that England have at their disposal. Zach Hardacre, who was good yesterday, and Sam Tompkins, who's on his way back to this competition.
Yeah, Rashford, a master of many trades, but of course you need to be a grand master of your trade to get into the international side. Ashton Sims, this man-mountain Fijian, the former North Queensland Cowboy, the big gun of the Warrington pack, charging forward. Darryl Clark, Chris Hill. Chris Hill is rarely put into reverse and keeps moving forward, going through the gears. Clark once more, Richard Myler to Ratsford to Joel Monaghan. Monaghan comes inside, one man but not inside Adam Swift, and Joel plays the ball 5 metres short. Now Ben Westwood swats up a couple of challenges, throws off one of those SPW offloads, and then it's collected on the floor by Stefan Ratsford. Monaghan comes in at dummy half for the final play in this sequence for the Warrington Wolves. Tony Smith's team lead by 4-0 as Myler floats a kick towards the goal line. Good distance on it. It'll be grounded in goal. A question for Richard Silverwood to decide exactly what happened there, and he not entirely sure, I think, of what exactly happened. Whether Warrington knocked on, whether Saints then grounded it in goal, and the referee wants to have a little look exactly what happened, Stuart.
The field play decision, so we've got 2 looks to see what happens. He's gone with the goal line dropout. He wants to see that there's no knock on by Warrington in the first place, which doesn't look like there is. Oh, it's very difficult to tell, but he's had his 2 looks. Can the video referees decide from that? I would stick with a goal line dropout.
It would seem the likelihood, wouldn't it? That was what Richard Silverwood initially believed had happened. And
well, they've decided it was a knock-on, so we've got a handover.
Well, there you are then. Phil Bentham and George Stokes are watching the TV pictures that we're watching here.
Well, they must say it comes off Ben Curry's right hand, is it? Stuart, when you have a look at that again?
Possibly.
I'm coming to the conclusion, mate, I have no idea what a knock-on is these days.
I mean, these days.
Yeah. Well, Saints got the ball in hand, that's all that really matters, and they'll start moving away from their own red zone. They haven't really had anything since that initial chance when Makerson made the break and couldn't get the ball inside to Shannon McDonnell. And this will help them a little bit now because they've got a penalty inside their own half, and their next set will start inside Wolves territory.
Well, I think this is the first time that Saints have had the ball since James Roby went off. Of course they'll miss him, but what he does at the play of the ball, he decides who gets the ball, so be interested to see who takes that responsibility. We've already said that John Wilkins and Travis Burns, they're probably playing with 1 pivot.
I think it's going to fall down to Mark Flanagan. Well, he's in at dummy half. He played stand-up last year in the grand final.
You're right.
Against Wigan, so very talented player. Can play a number of positions.
Well, the grand final, of course, remembered for Ben Flowers sending off right at the start of the piece, but really also ought to be remembered for the way that St Helens won the grand final without any halfbacks. But John Wilkin didn't play in that game either. They were missing everybody by that stage.
There's a mistake. John Wilkin makes the mistake. Mark Flanagan going in at 9, son of the former Great Britain and Oldham hooker Terry Flanagan. I'm sure he'll have a smile on his face watching his son play at 9.
Well, John Wilkin was after Kylie Moore to drop back inside, come under him, and then he was caught in 2 minds. Should he pass the ball, should he not? No matter who plays for Saints, Saints' game over the last 20 years has been based around how quickly they play the ball. Whether it be Kieran Cunningham, who's the current coach, or whether it be James Roby, they go from dummy half, they congregate like an amateur side, but play off speed.
Well, Kieran Cunningham, Super League's most inexperienced coach, with, well, having played, coached 17 Super League matches, of which he's won 11, against the most experienced today, Tony Smith, coaching his 452nd Super League match.
Good line
for Warrington,
speed.
Huddersfield and Leeds.
Alex Walmsley right off the line, trying to stop and prevent Ben Harrison getting any more momentum up. Good shot from the big fella.
Well, Warrington have got some momentum in this attack because Atkins has got it out to Gene Ormsby, and they need 3 men to muscle up on Ormsby. Atkins comes in to direct the traffic. Oh, and this time Ashton Sims is knocked backwards in the tackle, but still managed to get it back into first gear and then second, and make a couple of second effort meters for the Warrington Wolves. Now Myler taking the line on. Myler crashing into Jones and to Wilkin, and takes Warrington to within 12 metres as the last tackle is indicated. Ratsford to Patton. Patton strokes them forward left-footed. This will be a try. That's a try to Ben Harrison. Ben Harrison read the kick through from Patton absolutely perfectly. Richard Silverwood wants to consult with the video ref. He believes it's a try. So does Ben Harrison, and Warrington look like they've gone 8-0 up.
All they want to do is check whether the player's onside on the chase. Nothing wrong with the grounding. It's that reverse kick. Confused the referee as well as to where he came from, but he's fine, he's behind. Collects the ball correctly and grounds it correctly. They'll just check the grounding. Again, no problem with that. Catches the ball cleanly and grounds it correctly. That'll be a try.
This is excellent play. Ben Harrison actually asked for this kick. You could see that the pattern goes one way. It drags a couple of players out to the line. Ben Harrison just runs straight and hard. Good pick up as well. Pulls it in with both hands.
He drags the fullback as well, Tez, by motioning over to the big side and bringing it back. The fullback's out of position. Ben Harrison gets the try.
Ben Harrison's first try of this Super League season. Warrington 8-0 up, and it will soon become 10.
Well, watch Shannon McDonald organise his troops in defence. He got his numbers absolutely right on the short side. And after he did that, after he numbered off his defenders, he proceeded to move over and cover what he thought would be a kick to the long side. It's the brilliance of the kick that catches out the fullback. He's positioned on the inside of Patton, which is where you'd want him to be, but he did not expect a reverse kick. That man, Ben Harrison, did. It's brilliance from the boot of Patton. I wouldn't really criticise Shannon McDonald too much, and of course Ben Harrison's ability to catch the ball and ground it is also a massive factor in the scoring of that try.
Well, about 2 months ago, no one outside Warrington had even heard of Declan Patton. He made his debut against Wakefield in that 80-0 drubbing, and has played the last 7 games, only turned 20 last week, and suddenly, out of nowhere, is becoming a key man in this Warrington Wolves season and their attempt to get back into the top 4 and start another challenge for Old Trafford. Ratchford has missed again. Well, to go back to it, when you come to the playoffs or cup ties or cup finals or grand finals, if you can't turn 4 into 6 often enough, it could be very costly.
You need to be knocking those over.
Never mind the playoffs.
This is the outball. This is the outline from Declan Patton that pulls Shannon McDonald over. Yep, the kick was brilliant, the chase was brilliant from Ben Harrison, but it was the initial outline that interests Shannon McDonald.
My point was, Barry, that in playoff games and cup finals, they're more likely to be low scoring, and so every 2 is liable to be more crucial. But you're absolutely right, that could be costly today, never mind in September, October.
Your point is a good one, and there's a mistake from the kick-off. You've credited him, Brian, you've given him some praise, and he's made a bit of a boo-boo there on the back line.
Yeah, he's caught it in the field of play, or in the in-goal area, and then stepped back over the line.
But look at the way that Chris Hill was positioned then. That was his ball all day, because he knew that he touches that ball, they get the ball back on halfway. Have a little look here. Look, he's got his foot louder. He's got his foot outside of the field of play. He's trying to push him out the way to get the ball.
Patton may not have a career as a tightrope walker in later life. He quite get that balancing act right, and it's handed St Helens some initiative here.
Well, going back to the kicks and the missed conversions, he used to play for a coach and he used to tell me that those conversions are worth half a try. And we saw in the game before how crucial one of Scott Giroux's conversions, or the fact that he didn't get it, how costly it was for the Dragons.
Indeed, that was a horrible shank from Stefan Ratchford. They've even threatened the uprights. So 8-0 Warrington, both tries unconverted. This, well, I mean, it's an absolute snap hook, isn't it? Nowhere near. Anyway, let's see how costly it is come full time and the final analysis on this game. Saints looking to close back this 8-0 deficit here. They've only been down here really once. That was that line break by Makinson, not finished off when the interception came from Ben Curry from the possible pass to McDonald. Here now is Wilkins, steps onto his left foot, no time at all, click charge down, as is Warrington's wont. The best charges down of kicks in the Super League. It's always been their MO, and this time it pays dividends as they get possession back in decent field position.
Well, this is a hurried kick, but again, it's good defence from Warrington, who are getting off the line. They're putting them under pressure. But John Wilkins talked about, when he interviewed him after a game recently, he talked about that Saints need to start games better. Well, it's another game that they've started. They've not been as composed. They've not been as good as Warrington. That's why they've conceded 2 tries.
Clark to Sims to Myler to Ratchford. Warrington moving the ball quite sweetly.
It looks
going
good,
over the halfway line.
It looks good, but it hasn't done much to the defensive line of Kieran Cunningham, St Helens. They looked intact, they looked in control, and that kick pressure possibly has led to Richie Myler having half a glimpse at two players coming towards him.
Yeah, Myler's fumble. It's back to your question of what's a knock on.
On the line, guys.
I've already told you I have no idea on these days. What do you think, Stuart?
Well, a knock on is if you knock the ball towards your opponent's line, and I think probably again you'll see that the ball
That's a knock on
behind him.
Yes, that's what I suspected. Anyway, it's been blown by the referee, and Saints get the ball back as they're making another interchange here. Saints.
Sizable figures come on in the number 8 jersey, Rod.
Yes, Mossy Masoi. Another straight appearance for Big Mossy. I think this is his 47th straight Super League start. And playing in the position he does in the front row, that takes some doing with the battering you take up there, all the knocks, the bumps and bruises, just carries on steamrolling on the big man. Wilkin with a right-footed kick this time. Ratchford has missed that completely. Oh my goodness, that is a howler from Stefan Ratchford, and it's ended up as a try for St Helens. It was the unorthodox kick from John Wilkin that did the damage. Ratchford missed it completely, and Louis McCarthy-Starsbrook rumbled onto it to touchdown.
Well, you've got to make sure, we talked about it yesterday, whenever there's a good kick, you've got to push really hard, you've got to chase, and you've got to make it into a better kick. And this is what Louis McCarthy does. This is the knock-on from Richie Myler, which gives the field position to Saints. And as soon as Saints get in this field position, you can see that this is a better kick. There's a ricochet yet from Ben Curry. But the man that's pushing up, the man that's aware of the danger is Louis McCarthy. The kick, the ricochet, and who's pushing up yet again, as he does every game that he plays. He works so hard, Louis McCarthy, doesn't he?
Well, the agility he shows to collect that ball, the hand-eye coordination he's got to have to collect it, because the rugby league ball bounces, the rugby league ball can bounce in any direction, as we saw before he collected it, but the skill and agility he showed to pick it up, first class from the big man.
James Roby back into the fray for St Helens, so a double boost for Saints and a double whammy for Warrington. In the twinkling of an eye, 6 points to Saints, providing Makinson can nail this, and their talisman hooker back on the field. So Warrington's lead reduced to just 2 by LMS's try and the conversion from Makinson. As they say, Roby back on there. As the tide turned, I wonder.
Well, you can be made to look very ordinary with the bounce of a ball. Barry referred to it. An easy thing is to criticise Stefan Ratchford and say he should have picked that up, but once it hits the ground off a ricochet, as it did on that occasion, it's very difficult to judge exactly where it's going to go, and well, on that occasion it fell into the hands of the attacking Louis McCarthy-Starsbrook.
It did a vicious Shane Warne leg break, didn't it? It was just, you know, very difficult to handle. It was difficult to pick in the air, that's for sure.
Well, I mentioned hand-eye coordination. I don't think you're born with it, but I think you can develop it and get better. And during sessions, during training sessions during a week, players might do their individual hand-eye coordination and try and test using a tennis ball or something like that, but you're right, Brian, you can't legislate for that.
The irregular shape of the ball means it really can't bounce any direction.
Warrington looking for a third straight Magic Weekend win over Saints. The last two have been real towelings handed out to Saints, 48-22 in 2013 and 41-24 last year. Made a super start, Warrington, with 2 unconverted tries. Another charge down here, and this time it works against Warrington because Saints get another set, and the rumbling finger of Masoi charges into Warrington territory, and off the back of it, off the quick play the ball, James Roby is there. Josh Jones knocked down in centre field, 18 metres out. Penalty blown, chance to level the scores. Should Kieran Cunningham opt for the 2 points? He scratches his chin behind us.
Yeah, you take the 2. You take the 2. It's hurried, haste, trying to play the ball, Josh Jones, but a charge down gave the big fella. I was a big man. I've been in this position. I'm thinking, will somebody please tackle me before I run too far?
He's 23 stone. Is Mossy Masoi. He's absolutely a beast of a man. And this is Saints at the best. As soon as he gets down, you can see players lose collision. Then James Roby's out from dummy half. That's what generates that speed I was talking about early on that leads to this field position.
Well, Makinson now lining up a possible match-tying penalty, and well, like Warrington, Saints have had their trouble with goal kicking this season. Luke Walsh would be the first choice goal kicker if he was in one piece and playing, and presumably if his ankle and leg were all 100% in operation. But Makinson, the deputy, with a 77% rate, that's pretty neat and tidy after a sticky start goal kicking wise this season. Makinson looks to level and does just that. So Warrington lead 2-1, but on the scoreboard it's 8 apiece.
Well, Kieran Cunningham's going to be very happy. And Tony Smith, well, he knows that there's 2-1, but they failed to convert, and that's exactly what Tommy Makinson has done. He's had 2 chances to go for 2 points, and he's kicked both of them.
Well, in this opening 25 minutes here at St James's Park in Newcastle, we've really seen Warrington's season all over. It's just a complete and utter mystery what they might do. You would not want to try and make a living trying to bet on what Warrington might do next, because it's just a mystery, really. And they've started very brightly, scored 2 good tries, suddenly made a couple of mistakes, and the match is all square again. In a game, really, which they've dominated in most facets of the game, they're only drawing.
Well, you want the game to be in the balance right the way up to 80 minutes, don't you?
Well, not if you're Tony Smith, probably you don't, Terry, do you?
Well, not if you're Kieran Cunningham either. Well, a bit of fisticuffs then, was it? Ashton Sims and Kyle Limor.
Yeah, there was a bit of afters. Ashton Sims, you've already talked about him, Tez. He's an ever-present for Warrington this year. He's durable, and he's come to play. Puts as much effort as he can into the minutes he's on the pitch, and I think that's a bit of professionalism there from Sims. He gets on with his job, turns round and decides what he has to do next.
A little bit of sparring going on, and now the runaway truck Masoi is parked up on the halfway line as Saints now suddenly buoyed by the try and then the conversion and penalty to tie the score, and the return of Roby, looking a lot more confident, going about their business with a little bit of a swagger now. St Helens, monstrous kick collected by Ormsby, who then is collected by Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook. Coming up later on, though, one more Magic Weekend match, Castleford versus Wakefield, to bring the curtain down on the Magic Weekend 2015, the 9th staging of the event. Can Wakefield finally stop the rot, or will Castleford avenge their opening weekend defeat? Does Warrington get a penalty?
Well, Saints, they have Warrington exactly where they want them. They're the most penalised team in the competition, and a lot of those penalties that they give away is because of what they do, getting off the line, trying to intimidate the opposition, working extra hard at the other end of the pitch away from their try line. But it needs to be a disciplined online chase.
Draw earlier today between Huddersfield and Catalan Dragons. Huddersfield led 16-0, but still needed a touchline conversion of Jermaine McGilvery's last-minute try by Danny Brough to earn a share of the spoils. Warrington can go level on points in the table with Huddersfield should they win this game. Huddersfield currently sitting in 4th spot. Saints in 2nd, defending here as Chris Hill steps inside. Managed to shrug off one challenge, but not the second. Masoi again is in there, and the all-enveloping challenge, and Darryl Clark comes in to direct the traffic with a couple of tackles left in this sequence. Myler, Patton to Ryan Atkins, and that's a try for Warrington. Ryan Atkins has been short on tries this season, but he wasn't short on scoring there. It was a good, well-worked move by Warrington. The half-backs combined and found enough space for Atkins to just muscle his way over the line for the Wolves' 3rd try.
And Richard Silverwood happy that there was no obstruction in the build-up to that try. There was a lot of numbers of a lot of Warrington players just hitting some holes, and that man Ryan Atkins does it. And this is the penalty that gives that yet again field position to the opposition. Warrington, well, when they have the opportunities again at the line, you can see the Saints player sink in on the dummy runner. Just a couple of lead runners running through, and it's Travis Burns that makes the decision that he's going to hit the lead runner. He makes the mistake in defence, and then there's opportunities out wide because there's space left. Good line, strong line, and carries McDonald over the try line.
Well, Ryan Atkins is extending an extraordinary sequence, as you see there. This is the 7th Magic Weekend now that he's scored at for either Wakefield or the Warrington Wolves, and no one else can match that record in terms of scoring at different Magic Weekend festivals. Remarkable.
Yep, all came about, Rod, with mismatching in defence. St Helens were caught with 6, I believe, on the left-hand side of defence, and hence their right edge was looking outnumbered and stretched, and Warrington Wolves putting on a smart move. Well, it was too much for the St Helens defence. If you don't get your numbering right, you're going to make one side of your defence look pretty ordinary, and it happened on that occasion. It wasn't really the fault of the right-hand side that it was scored, or the people that took a rest on the left-hand side.
Change of kicker Ratchford gets the shepherd's crook. Bridge with the best percentage kicking record in Super League, 1 out of 1. But again, not the most reliable. I'm sure even he'd admit that, but that's a good one from Chris Bridge. Makes it 2 out of 2 for the season. He was kicking in the cup tie at Dewsbury a couple of weeks ago, missed a few there, but no problems for Chris Bridge. Well struck conversion, and Warrington go 6 in front again at 14-8. This is the try from the referee's perspective. Atkins getting the touchdown.
Well, Brian did a good job of explaining. I'm sure Wellesley will when he gets to analyse at half-time. But there were enough people in the frame to look after that man and prevent him from getting the ball down. And Shannon McDonald couldn't stop him from doing so. 6 points to the Wolves.
Clock ticking round to the half-hour mark here. Entertaining stuff in the sunshine now at St James's Park. A few showers forecast for later, but at the moment the big crowd basking in the sunshine. The Warrington fans enjoying what they're watching as their side look for their 7th Magic Weekend win. And after all their trials and tribulations and what's been an ordinary season by Warrington's standards, if they win this game, they'll only be 5 points off the top of the Super League and still very much a threat, and still in the Challenge Cup with a home tie against Championship leaders Leigh to come up as well. It might actually all come up smelling of roses for Warrington come the final analysis.
We look at both of these sides and they've both featured, or one of the sides have either featured in the last 9 grand finals, but they've never played each other. Could this year be the year of?
That outcome remains possible. That's out on the full. That's a poor kick from Patton. He overcooked it. You don't have to get it wrong by very much to be heavily penalised, because now they're coming back, what, 40 metres? He just took a little bit off that. They'd have been packing the scrum deep in Saints territory. As it is now, the turnover becomes 35 from their own line.
And it was kick pressure from Saints, hard from the inside, making it difficult. Kicking from the left side of the pitch for a right footer.
Well, it is asking a lot. We expect a lot, but asking for a 20-year-old to turn from Declan Patton to General Patton overnight is not an easy task for the young man, and he has Richard Marner alongside him to help marshal the troops for Warrington. Here's McDonald, Shannon McDonald, once of Hull KR, once of Hull FC. Ben Harrison takes him to ground. Harrison scoring his first try of the season earlier on in this contest. Saints knocking on the door for the match levelling score. They've levelled once, can they level again? Not on this occasion. Ball is spilt by Saints, by Flanagan. It'll be the knock on, it'll be the scrum pack down.
Well, they were given an invitation, but just again losing the ball at the line here. There was a Warrington player, I think it's Chris Bridge. The pass from John Wilkin, and Chris Bridge just does enough to put Mark Flanagan off, who has his eyes on the Warrington player. And again, it's just another opportunity. Kieran Cunningham will be sending down a message. Just let's play with a bit more composure when we get near Warrington's line.
And so many times we see that play unfold where it's lead runners and it goes behind, and they're trying to create on the edge of everything a 2v1 or a 3v2. But what Saints are doing is they're testing the honesty of Warrington and giving it to the front runner, the lead runner, the front door runner.
Warrington by 6 here as they look for what would be a 3rd consecutive win. They haven't managed to win 3 games on the trot all season. In fact, they haven't won 3 on the trot in all competitions since way back last summer. So they've been inconsistent, to say the very least. It's the strangest of seasons for the Warrington Wolves. Here's Harrison rumbling forward inside Saints territory. Last tackle then in this sequence. What have Patton and Myler got up their sleeve this time? High one from Richard Myler into the sunshine. Not the easiest ball to handle, and it is handled very well by Tommy Makins. He did well there because he had 4 Warrington Wolves converging on him as the ball came down.
He's such a good player, isn't he? Scoring tries, the kick returns, taking those high balls under pressure, and also knocking over a couple of conversions as well. That's quality.
But there's an indicator there. If Saints don't put pressure on us, they did on the previous one with Dec Patton. If they've got time and think time and space, Warrington can pressure Saints.
Well, the art of ignoring what must have sounded like a herd of elephants coming towards him whilst concentrating on the football is a difficult one to master. Ratchford comes scampering across to this near touchline to collect the bouncing kick. Ratchford is being confronted by a wall of 4 St Helens tacklers. Josh Jones was the first to get to the Warrington fullback. Quick play the ball though, did well, and now Joel Monaghan looks on a little scoot and takes Warrington to 20 metres away from their own line as they manage to get themselves reorganised again off the back of that good St Helens kick. Harrison, well, a ball that was into heavy traffic. Gene Ormsby still managed to collect it before he was manhandled by Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook, and now Darrell Clark. Patton and Ben Curry, who's made that try-saving intervention earlier on in the piece when it was still scoreless, but apart from that, it's been kept quiet by St Helens, and not many have kept Ben Curry quiet this season. One of the standout performances of the year from the Warrington Wolves. Now, this an injury here.
Mossy Massoy coming in.
George
third,
King.
Yeah, third man in. They're just going to have a look at this because Mossy's come in, flying in. Third man, just keep an eye on. That's the one they're going to have a look at. Stuart?
Well, there's not really anything wrong with that, because he's actually making the tackle in the direction that the joint should bend, if you like. So he hasn't put any undue pressure on, so I think that'll be fine, and that's obviously their view too.
Good ball movement from Warrington, Rod. They're moving these St Helens forwards around. I've seen Mossy is doing side to side, and that's going to take a lot of energy out of him. Although Warrington aren't going forward, that kick's a little too long. Mossy comes off now, probably because of that. They're moving the big forwards around, shifting them.
Yeah, I was just about to say, he's done quite a stint there. And this is something that you've made quite clear many times, Brian, about the change in the interchange rule. If they reduce the interchange, that really negates the influence of someone like Mossy Massoy, doesn't it?
Well, I'm a believer in reducing the interchange and trying to get a bit more out of the big guys in them. I know you are looking at me now, but you two at different stages in your career, Barry, when you were under 8s, and Terry, for most of your career, you guys were able to do 80 minutes.
But you know, but the more you're out there, the more that you're playing under pressure. As said, put themselves under pressure.
Westwood's picked up a loose pass and he's got it inside to Chris Bridge, and Bridge is going for the line, and Saints have had to get some desperate defending done. Ben Westwood picked up the loose ball, had the presence of mind to flip it inside to a quicker man. That's a risky pass. Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook, who really has been absolutely everywhere, Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook. He's been like a rash, offside. This time he was out of the traps too quickly. False start by LMS. It'll be a penalty to Warrington. Tony Smith never won to kick penalties, but this would put them in front from 8 instead of 6, and this time even Tony Smith has turned conservative and wants just the 2 points to edge them more than a converted try in front.
Well, he knew his side were in trouble here at this point. There was possibly a little bit too much time on that tackle on Chris Bridge as well. So Saints got away with it the first time. Here we see the mistake. It goes behind John Wilkin. Ben Westwood, dexterity and agility on show from the big fella. And Chris Bridge is tackled by 2 Saints players. Jordan Turner's one of them. Tony Smith communicating with his sideline. I think gesturing, let's get the 2 points. Let's keep that scoreboard ticking.
It wasn't that clear. It was more like a man trying to land a plane with semaphore, or maybe just letting the players know via tic-tac that their odds of winning the grand final have just been cut. I'm not sure what he was gesturing there. Anyway, Chris Bridge saw it as a gesture that it's a 2-point play. Should get this. A couple of misses early on in the piece from Stephen Ratchford, but Bridge nailed the first one, and this one less tricky than that, so you'd expect him to extend the Wolves' advantage, which he does. Nonchalance, and the Wolves lead by 8 off the back of that penalty goal from Chris Bridge.
Well, it's amazing, isn't it? From one end of the pitch to the other, and then you concede in the 2 points from the penalty. And it was un-Saints like that, normally clean, crisp passes. The pass going down, and the first to react with those Warrington players. The Warrington fans will be very happy. In front on the scoreboard, 16 points to 8, and Saints have it all to do here.
So they made that flying start to the season, which was derailed by the defeat at Hull Kingston Rovers, and have a sticky patch. They've now lost 5 league games, won 4 out of 9 after that flying start. Saints, to lose again, they'll stay or end the weekend in 3rd spot behind their arch rivals, the Wigan Warriors, who had that very dominant victory over the Leeds Rhinos yesterday. So Sean Wayne, who was smiling at the end of that, will be even happier if he can end the weekend ahead of the great rivals from up the road.
Well, Saints need some possession, they need some decent position, and when they get that position, they need to create those chances. And
knock on here, Tez.
Yeah,
it is indeed.
The third man in comes firing in.
Well, a bit of bluffing from Ben Harrison, going to play the ball.
Play to the whistle, Rod, play to the whistle.
Well, this is that position, isn't it, that they need?
Well, it's exactly what they need, Terry, isn't it? Especially with the clock ticking down here, 2 minutes 20 to go, first half here. Chance for Saints to strike here and get back into it. I don't think anyone could really argue that Warrington aren't good value for their lead, which currently stands at 8 points, but that won't count for very much if Saints score again.
They thoroughly deserve it. Obviously missed a couple of conversions as well, like we've already talked about, so it could be even more. 20 points to 8 on the scoreboard, but you look at Saints now, they've got that position, and Saints over the years, when they get up here, this is where they're normally good. Everyone seems to get excited. You just need to see a bit more from Saints in this game.
Good time to strike for the champions, the 6 times Super League champions. And they reel Warrington in just before the half-time interval and maybe just give them something to think about in the dressing sheds at half-time. John Wilkin looked to step inside. Ben Westwood enveloped him. And the assistant, Chris Bridge, is standing over his man like a prize fighter who's just knocked his man to the canvas instead of retreating to the neutral corner, and it will be a penalty to St Helens. Now, would you kick that with only a minute to go?
Well, do you know what, Rod? I think I would have.
Yes.
I would have kicked that and then you just one converted try away.
Yeah.
So they must score in this set. If they back themselves, they need to come up with the points here.
It wasn't a guaranteed to, was it, Terry? I'm with you, but it wasn't a guaranteed to. It was missable from where it was. It was longish range.
But it's an opportunity for points to have them in the bag.
James Roby back on the field after that early concussion scare for Saints as the clock moves into the final minute of the first half. Chris Hill trying to slow Saints down at the play of the ball. Roby was involved once more. Travis Burns drops a pass off as Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook looks for his second try of the afternoon. He's got the only Saints try of the day so far. Cunningham and Long look on anxiously, wondering if their side is going to produce something. Shannon McDonnell flips out a pass. Swift comes inside Ratsford, and the Wolves muscle up and push him into touch. Good goal line defence from Warrington, saves the day and ensures they will go in at half-time with an 8-point buffer.
Well, top defence, when the ball goes away from you, players will talk about shutting the game. Look at that. There's 5 players in attendance, in and around the ball carrier, and do enough to take him out of the field of play. So, should have gone for the 2 points. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, Rod.
Isn't it just? As the siren goes for half-time, and that near miss is the end of the first half action. Warrington have deserved their lead. 2 tries from Ratchford and Harrison, 1 for Saints and Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook, but it's the Wolves in front of the break by 16 points to 8.
Yes, Warrington are amongst the best. They are magic at the Magic. 6 from 8 victories at this event in the past, which means that the champions have it all to do in the second half if they're going to come back from this. Super League Magic here in Newcastle this weekend. Next week we will feature these 2 games for you. Thursday at 7:30 Sky Sports 1, it's the Widnes Vikings against Hull FC, 2 winners from here. And on Friday we will see Warrington again, who are involved in this tussle against the Saints at the moment. They play the Catalan Dragons, who drew the first match here today, and both of those games are on Sky Sports 1 and both at 7:30. This is the situation at half-time. St Helens 8, Warrington Wolves 16. 3 tries to 1 so far for the Warrington Wolves, who seem to really enjoy coming to the Magic weekends. They ran in 68 points. They won 68-4 against Widnes at Manchester 2012. They also ran up 68 points in the Magic held at Murrayfield. And the Saints, Kieran Cunningham, their coach, knows that they have lost to Warrington in the last 2 years in Manchester, 2013, 2014. They've got it all to do in the second half. Controlled, disciplined display from Warrington. They've been erratic this year, John and Brian, but not here today.
Yeah, absolutely, Eddie. There's been parts of that first half where they have been that controlled and disciplined, but there's been parts of that first half that will give St Helens and Kieran Cunningham great hope going into the going into the second half. I'm going to start by talking about a player that's been mentioned during the week for international honours come the end of the year. Steve McNamara said he's got his eye on him. It's Ben Curry, involved in the first try, but you want to have a look at a previous involvement in the game before he set up Stephen Ratchford, John.
Yeah, and as important as his contribution to the try as well. Let's have a look at him then. This is Ben Curry, and you remember what it is. St Helens break down the right-hand flank, and it's just an arm in, but it's a vital arm in. So Makinson makes the break, and how quick is he looking? Very dangerous. That contribution there. Concedes a dropout and another set of 6, but more importantly, doesn't concede a try. Now, this was in the lead-up to the Ratchford try, so they've just been awarded a penalty. Travis Burns have been done for laying on. He's in the right of his screen here, and he's making a call, we've checked this out, to Stephen Ratchford, and this is what I love about when we have the ability to find out almost behind the scenes what's going on. He's telling Stephen Ratchford here, hit one, hit +1. That means hit a hole outside the first defence. He's going to crab across, and that's exactly what Stephen Ratchford does. Puts himself in a gap, Josh Jones is pulled in, and Ratchford opens the scoring in a oh-so-easy way for Warrington.
Yep, 4-0 to Warrington, unconverted. Stephen Ratchford hasn't been kicking well, and Chris Bridge has taken over the kicking duties. Warrington hit again then with a try through Ben Harrison, but it was the magic of the kick from Dick Patton really that broke open the St Helens defence.
Yeah, 2 tries here. The first one for Harrison, the second one for Louis McCarthy, and there's a common theme, and it's trouble for in this first half. So the trouble for the fullback in this first clip is that it was an absolutely brilliant kick from Dick Patton. Again, pre-planned. There was a player, I don't remember, late 80s, early 90s, called Derek Fox, played for Featherstone and Bradford. He was the master exponent of this reverse kick. Really, really good to watch. Now, at this point, there is a fair bit to look at, not least the conversation between these two. And that's your try scorer and your kicker. Then have a look at McDonald's positioning, which is here. He's been tracking the ball. He's not out of position at any time. The final thing that I'm going to bring to your attention, which is what keeps Shannon McDonald honest. So this is the point of the kick. Shannon McDonald is tracking on the inside, as he should be. Harrison's off to get the kick because he knows where it's going. But the key man for me is this line here from Ryan Atkins, the man at the top of his screen here, because his honest line keeps Shannon McDonald on this line here, because he's a fair assumption of where that ball's going to go. And then the execution, the kick is wonderful, and Harrison finishes. But there's an awful lot of elements there, and it's important to understand how these tries are crafted. Second one, a little bit easier. Warrington persists with this. It's the sticking of the arm out, either for a charge down or to deflect the path of the ball, put pressure on the opposition. It is costing them more than it's helping them, because as a back three, as a fullback or a winger, when you want to see the flight of a ball, and you want to be able to track the flight of a ball, and you were saying it's a very unpredictable thing when it bounces where you don't think it's going to bounce. I think on average that's a poor percentage play that they're persisting with.
Okay, Ratchford unable to deal with that occasion. We then had another try for the Warrington Wolves side. It was, I picked out in the commentary, mismanagement of numbers in defence is what's cost them on a different, St Helens I'm talking about, on a different side of the field. One side of the field is exposed, but it's because of lazy defenders on the other side. Take us through this one, John.
Well, Chris Hill, first of all, with a superb line. He's the person who does really well in getting that defensive line disorganised. Inevitably, when somebody comes in and tries to make an early read and shut a play down, and that's Travis Burns there, who's the culprit, you go, well, why did Travis Burns do that? Why did he hang out? Well, in truth, the truth is, the line from Chris Hill in sucking all those players in causes the problem. They either could have done with an extra number or two before the start of that play, and Josh Jones, if you remember, was trying to get people round. It's an easier way to solve it, and then Fleming's faced with 2 decisions. He's got Atkins on the outside and Decken on the inside. He's caught between 2 stools. It's a very difficult decision for him to make at that point.
Okay, 8-point lead for Warrington Wolves going into the second half, but as I said, this is a St Helens side that is well capable of clawing that lead back, Eddie.
You're right, they never know when they are beaten, the Saints, but the Castleford and Wakefield fans and players are warming up for the final match, which will kick off here just after 5:15 on Sky Sports 1. Darryl Powell and his Castleford Tigers prowling around St James's Park. 16-8 Warrington aiming to overturn their 32-24 defeat at Langtree Park on March the 19th. All's not lost for St Helens here, though. Can they break down this Wolves defence in the second half? We're midway through day 2 of the First Utility Super League Magic Weekend, coming up to wrap the whole weekend up. A local derby and a feisty, high-scoring one it might be at that. Castleford against Wakefield. That follows the second half here of the match that we are watching now, and Warrington are ahead by 16 points to 8 against the champions. All to play for then in the second half. We have seen a 22-all draw, Catalan against Huddersfield, the first ever draw between those two sides. Huddersfield 16-0 up at one stage. Paul Anderson says a point lost, not a point won. Let's see who picks up the 2 points here. Warrington Saints then, back to the commentators, Brian, Barry, Terry and Rod.
Thanks, Eddie. Yeah, St Helens haven't won a Magic Weekend fixture since the 2010 festival at Murrayfield in Edinburgh, when they demolished Hull Kingston Rovers 54-zip. And if they're to snap that losing streak, or winless streak, we're going to have a second half rally here against the Warrington Wolves. If the Wolves can protect or extend their 8-point advantage, they'll end the weekend 5th, and they'll only be a couple of points behind St Helens, who will be 3rd. So Warrington, keep going back to this, who most people would believe or perceive have had a mediocre season, would be right in and amongst the big boys as the second half, or the final third of this opening stage of the season starts. Now here comes Richard Myler, who's side through here. Where did that hole come from? Myler's going himself! Richard Myler going for the line. A pass that's deflected to Monaghan. Monaghan offloads towards Ben Westwood, to Ratsford. They're keeping it alive, Warrington. Chris Prince juggles the ball, and in the end it comes to nothing. Richie Myler didn't quite have the gas. He went through a double-decker bus-sized hole inside his own half and didn't quite have the gas to go to the line himself. Wow.
A good start from Warrington in this opening part of the second half. They're just going to keep the pressure on, keep turning up for each other. Well, Saints have got back to prevent this try, but they've got to make sure they concentrate, they focus, because that's not how you start your first set of 6 defensively, when you've been under pressure in that first half.
Look, for a moment it was going to be another try for Joel Monaghan. Monaghan, who had 5 in a game at the Magic Weekend on one occasion in 2012.
Well, it's a stick or twist moment, isn't it, Rod? They've made a break, they're desperately close to scoring a try, and an offload. Sometimes we see spectacular tries from Warrington. I'm sure that they believed at some point they would get over the line, but tremendous work from St Helens to keep them out.
Well, Warrington have always been twisters rather than the stickers. They to take all manner of risks. They are the casino gamblers of the Super League, but on that occasion the cards didn't fall in their favour.
And what people talk about scramble defence, that was very good scramble defence from Saints, but the only reason why you scramble in the first place is because they broke you. So they need to fix a few things up in this second half, respect possession, and when they have those opportunities, turn the ball over on their terms and ask more questions of this Warrington defence.
Here is Dwyer, who we haven't seen in this match so far. Dwyer, who was on loan, remember, at London Broncos, and then with all that carry on with Mickey Hyam leaving Warrington for Lee, the Wolves had to get him back. It cost Simon Moran a few quid as well to get him out of that loan deal with London. Here he is back playing for the Warrington Wolves. Offload again from Bridge to Monaghan. Monaghan shaped to kick for a moment there, but in the end kept the ball in hand. This time they played it a little bit more conservatively. Bridges in there at dummy half to Richard Myler. Myler looking to the left-hand flank. He's got Atkins over there with Ormsby. It bounces free. It's picked up by Gene Ormsby. Ormsby is going to do well to get anything in terms of change from those 4 St Helens defenders, and the turnover comes close to that St Helens line. Let's nip down to the sideline and find out what the chat was in the changing room. Angela Powers has had her ear to the door.
I have, thank you very much for that, Rod. Tony Smith says he's very pleased with a lot of the aspects of the play of Warrington so far in this game, including their defence. They need to manage their last plays a little bit better. That's what he wants to see from them. If they give St Helens more field position, they'll take advantage, and that's what they've got to make sure they do. They control the field position. Kieran Cunningham's side, well, they reckon they've been punishing themselves, really, and they've got to get back into the grind. No more errors and focus.
Thanks, Angela. Roby. Roby's made half a break. The door closed. He couldn't get the ball away. Play the ball, says Richard Silverwood. Roby does just that. Burns comes in to get the attack moving again. Josh Jones from right to left to Turner. Turner Oh, he's gone through 2 challenges. Jordan Turner, strong man, close to the line. Bridge came there to stop him, grounding the ball over the Wolves line. Very close there, Jordan Turner to another try. Already got 12 this season. The versatile centre. Left-footed bomb from John Wilkin. High one towards McCarthy Scarsbrook. Offloaded, batted on, flicked on, picked up, dropped by Makinson. Makinson spilled the ball. It was a very, very difficult ball to take, to be fair to Tommy Makinson.
It was, Rod, I agree with you, but wasn't that, again, good defence from Warrington? On the right-hand side when they broke, and then they come over to the left, the offload there from Fleming, they're just pushing up, 3 players putting pressure and getting in the eye line of Makinson. When this ball comes from Travis Burns, it is a dipping ball, but you could just see, had a little look up at Declan Patton.
Almost a throwback to a different era, some of the stuff we're seeing here from these two teams. There was structure had gone out of the window, offload, flick, knock on, bat on. It was off-the-cuff stuff that was just so entertaining to watch.
Well, it's a contradiction to the messages and the information given to Angela Powers. I think it was Saints who talked about getting back into the grind, doing the stuff that probably isn't pretty to watch, but gets very effective, gets you further down the field.
It's exactly what Sean Long said, Barry, coming up the lift, having to share a lift with himself and Kieran Cunningham. They need to start building pressure. He said that's the one thing that's been lacking in their game, is putting Warrington under pressure, getting through their sets. And you're right, it's the antithesis of the way Sean Long would seem to play the game when you reflect back on how, because he was so maverick. But it's sure built into that maverick approach was a respect for the ball, a respect for possession, and respect for your completion.
Sean Long, surely the dictionary definition of a maverick. The mercurial scrum half.
It's hard to change your mindset. When you're a player who plays so freely and you get your arm free and you offload that ball, and when the team's going forward and people are shouting for that ball, it's very difficult not to throw it when you've been used to doing it over the early rounds in the year and during your career as well.
Well, there's 2 great mavericks on the coaching staff, one of each. I'll see your Sean Long and I'll raise your Lee Breers, Rod.
Well, indeed, a close call between the two. Ratchford just ran into traffic, playing it safe. There he is, Lee Breers, and some would argue that Warrington have never replaced Lee Breers. Come close to winning the grand final a couple of times, 2 grand final defeats to the Rhinos and to the Wigan Warriors. Will they come as close again this season, or has their chance gone, as Phil Clark opined before the match? They're winning here, that's for sure. They're 8 in front. They've got over half an hour to defend that lead against the champions, St Helens. Dwyer moves forward at pace. Saints shut the door very quickly. McCarthy Scarsbrook having a big game here for St Helens. He's scored their try, but he's got through a lot of defensive work too. Bridge hoiks it up in the air. Hand goes up from Swift. Catch is made by Swift. Straight in line with his post, 10 metres from his own try line, and Swift just does the simple stuff and charges forward. Is this the kind of grind that Kieran Cunningham was talking about? Has Makinson got something impish up his sleeve?
Yeah, just all the Saints players need to put the hand up here, bring the ball forward, strong carries, like 19-year-old Greg Richards.
Has to be a penalty one way or the other. It's a penalty against Warrington.
And again, he earns this penalty for his side because he runs hard, he picks Laithwaite out, gets over the top of him, and then it's the little surge from George King just to hook his leg up, just so he couldn't get a clean play of the ball.
Bearded figure of James Laithwaite coming off the interchange bench today, concedes the penalty. Wilkin bangs it into touch, doesn't make a whole heap of meterage. The play will come Saints' way, another set just inside Wolves territory. In the sunshine on the far side, St Helens left, running from left to right in the second half, the men in the famous red V. 10 metres inside the Wolves half now, and Roby, who had that 15-minute spell on the sidelines with a concussion check, pass fit to come back on, makes such a difference. He now is the string puller, the architect for St Helens. Here is James Roby again, international class at hooker. Wilkin just dropped the ball off once more. They're 20 metres out, St Helens. Travis Burns trying to organise something from right to left here, and that's the way the ball goes. John Wilkin meandered forward before offloading. Turner busts the tackle again. Turner put the pass on a plate and a try on a plate for Adam Swift. It was the tackle bust from Jordan Turner that made the try, and Swift had the simple task of finishing off in the corner.
And when you see who he's gone through here, you'll be shocked. It's Ben Westwood.
Well, Jordan Turner, much like his previous break, it bumps off the defender. He's a very underestimated player, Jordan Turner. Here's Greg Richards trying to play the ball, He earns his side a penalty. Field position and possession most of the time equals pressure, and there's a fumble on the floor. Ben Westwood, you're right, Brian, goes low, and that's a very accurate pass round the button for Adam Swift. A good bit of balance and strength, and again agility. There's been a number of times where the ball's been bouncing on the floor. The players from both sides have had the skill to pick it up on the bounce. Yeah, Ben Westwood's a better defender than that, but what about the pass for the try?
Well, Turner not just a bish-bosh back centre, is he? He has the ball handling skills, good enough to play standoff, and again showing those skills, as you alluded to, Barry.
Well, it was his strength getting out of those tackles and getting rid of Ben Westwood, and then it was the accurate pass at the end. So Kieran Cunningham, Sean Long, the brains trust for Saints. Well, they'll be happy with the start in this second half. They got some points on the scoreboard.
Well, Tony Smith looks calm, but his lead, or his team's lead, has been halved from 8-4, and if Makinson can keep up his 100% record for today, it'll be down to just a couple of points. This by far the most difficult kick though for Makinson, wide out on that far touchline as senior pro Joel Monaghan and captain Joel Monaghan tries to get things organised behind the post for the Wolves. Makinson strikes. Makinson will not be able to draw that back, and so Warrington's lead will stay at 4. 16-12 to the Wolves.
Well, Nathan Brown had Jordan Turner earmarked as a 6 when he had to fill in at the start of last year. Brown said no problem to him, he's a very talented player. You'd think he'd be a running 6 if he was a 6. On this occasion, he shows us how strong he is, getting through the tackle, one of the better defenders in Super League, in Ben Westwood, and then picking Adam Swift out with a beautiful right-to-left pass. It's good to have that versatility in a player. You know that if you're pushed, and St. Helens have been pushed in recent years, you can slip somebody like Jordan Turner into a ball-playing position, and he can do it quite accomplishment.
Very quick from a standing start also, Brian. 0-60 very quickly, Jordan Turner, and gets that head of steam up swiftly. Adam Swift, the try scorer, his 8th of the season, and all those coming in a really recent spell in the last 4 games or so. He was on the mark in the cup game too, also against the York City Knights as they got through.
A couple of strong carries from Luke Thompson and then Greg Richards. There's an emergence of young talent this year in Super League, isn't there? When you look at Thompson, Richards, Savelio, I know they played last year along with this year, then you look at Patton, Ben Curry, Darryl Clark, they're all still very young. They add so much to the competition.
Wigan obviously too, we saw yesterday star names for the Wigan Warriors. Joe Burgess, George Williams again outstanding for the Wigan Warriors in their victory over the Leeds Rhinos. Well, that's an offload that could be deemed as slightly reckless. It's come off anyway. From Ratchford to Gene Ormsby. Under half an hour left then in this Magic Weekend tie, and Wakefield and Castleford still waiting to bring the curtain down in the final game of the season. Can Wakefield finally get a win on the board? They won their first 2, they've lost their last dozen. Can Castleford get right back into the shake-up? That coming up 5:15 p.m. this afternoon. Last game at St James's Park. Ben Westwood will be filthy with himself for missing that tackle against Jordan Turner.
He knows that. He knows you don't need to tell him that he's made the mistake. Tony Smith sending on Roy Asatasi and Ashton Sims to stiffen up the middle, take the battle forward.
There's a bit of Australian beef being sent on by Tony Smith, a kick that looks to be too deep, and Makinson can just shepherd it dead, and that means Saints will reload 20 metres out.
Beef. One's Fijian and one's New Zealander.
Okay, fair enough.
Antipodean.
NRL beef then, perhaps. I don't know what your beef is with me, Barry.
You know what my beef is with you, Rob.
Knock on here! Some of the beef has got the job done. Meaty tackle came in on Adam Swift. It was too much to handle. There he is, Ashton Simmons. Well, it was the Antipodean beef, wasn't it?
The 2 big men just recently sent on. Swift tries to use the footwork, steps outside of Ashton Sims, but only steps into the big figure of Roy Asatasi.
Well, it's an important forced error by the Warrington Wolves, because having just conceded 2 Adam Swift, they now start a set 25 metres out. Can they strike here? Atkins, who scored in the first half, he's got Ormsby with him, and Ormsby was just crying out for that ball to be offloaded in the tackle by the international centre Atkins. Ormsby cannot get rid of Travis Burns and has to succumb to the tackle, but he's inside the 10-metre area as Brad Dwyer saunters into dummy half, wants a penalty, not forthcoming. Patton slips it inside to Roy Asotasi, and the veteran Australian prop is wrapped up. James Roby important on the tackle there. Dwyer once more. Myler steps inside, Laithwaite spills the ball, knock on, picked up by Roby. It'll be play on, it'll be a free tackle, a free play for the Saints. Disorganised, I think the best way to describe that attack by Warrington.
Yes, but mission accomplished for Saints, defending the try line. They didn't do that well in the opening part of the game. The step from Richie Myler, attacking the middle unit from Saints, seeing if any of them switched off. But they realised exactly what was going to come up about then. Do you know, I was just going to say they could do with a penalty here.
Well, they've got one.
They could do with this penalty. They scored the opening try in this second half. They've got themselves back into the game, just 4 points behind. This is a relieving penalty. But again, not much distance on that kick.
No, it was very much safety first. He didn't want to bite off any more than he could chew, but Saints had the ball, and Josh Jones charges forward for Saints. Very slow, play the ball, positively sedate. Roby was involved once more. Savelio, 20 years old also. A lot of, as you mentioned, Terry, a lot of young talent coming through all over the Super League, but particularly at St Helens. John Wilkin, the veteran, the old 1-2 with Josh Jones.
Oh, that was nice, that, Rod.
Subtle, Barry, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was a move made famous at Warrington. Alan Langer, during his time there, they probably brought it into the game to wear a nick out.
Savelio, slow to his feet. Roby. There's a big,
That was a good shot, wasn't it, from Sims?
That's a meeting of meat if ever there was, as Thompson went into the tackle, prodded forward. Good kick too, because Ormsby is going to struggle. Oh my goodness. Well, Ormsby knew that if he caught that, he was going to be put into touch, so he almost allowed Tommy Makinson to take it out of the air and then got rid of him.
Well, when Tommy Makinson catches this ball, he catches it, it's a clean catch, he's looking to offload it. And as soon as Ormsby knows that he's beaten in the earth, the second thing in his mind is he's got to take him out of the play.
Does a great job, doesn't he, Tez? You talked and mentioned him as almost a stuntman, Tommy Makinson. Well, Colt Sievers
what's going
nearly
on
got a
here?
try then. There's an offload, crazy offload.
Madness.
You don't do that on player one.
That is lunacy. They just diffused a very difficult situation, and then Roy Asotasi, well, talk about the casino gambler.
Well, those 4 Saints players in attendance then.
Roby, Wilkin, this could cost Warrington heavily here. High risk play, well, almost a 0% play. They didn't get away with it. Jones is stopped just short. Roby, Wilkin a short pass. Well, half a chance for Luke Thompson. The door shuts. Roby comes across to take the play the ball. Still St Helens, a kick through. That should be dealt with by Ormsby, and relieved Gene Ormsby dives on the ball, diffuses it, but it is at the cost of a goal line dropout.
Well, on the third play, well, if you look at Saints playing an attack, that man who's kicked the ball, he's the key indicator, John Wilkin. Whichever side of the ruck he seems to be standing, that's where the ball's going.
He's a dominant left-footed kicker, and he kicks that ball with his right. So we've already talked about him having to fill in, and a number of players. It's a bit of a mix and match game for St Helens, but they're good at that. They're multi-skilled, they're multifaceted players these days.
Well, Warrington, well, Tony Smith has got the shepherd's crook out here for Roy Asotasi. Come and sit over here after that glaring blunder. He's just hooked Asotasi on. He only put him on at half-time, didn't he? And that's, what, 16 minutes? They might say, well, that was kind of the area where they would stop him off, but you feel it was a bit more than that, wouldn't you, Terry?
16 minutes, if that. Well, even more senior pros can have those brain explosions trying to get the ball away. Well, there's a problem as well. Is it Dwyer? I tell you what, the likes of Savelio, Thompson and Richards, they're running hard.
Very big men, running very hard and very strong. Well, Warrington up by 4 on the scoreboard, but under pressure here on the field. You feel Saints are in the ascendancy here in terms of the way the game is unfolding, the pattern that the game is showing at the moment. Wilkin, pacey run. Saints moving it from left to right. Great challenge comes in. Important challenge too. It was a vital one. And Patton, who came across to shut the door. That was a big moment and a big tackle. McCarthy Scarsbrook to Burns. Burns, a prodded kick that came off Laithwaite, and they will get another set here, St Helens. James Laithwaite stuck out a leg, and it cannons straight back to St Helens. Savelio, Chris Hill fresh into the fray, trying to do some defensive duties. Laithwaite, an instinctive prod with a limb. Wilkin! John Wilkin! Is he over the line? Is he over the line? Richard Silverwood is as unsure as I am. He'll have to go upstairs to seek the assistance from the video ref. He thinks it's a try, Richard Silverwood, and if it is, the scores are level, but it was certainly unclear as to whether he grounded the ball. Stuart Cummings.
Well, Richard Silverwood will have seen the ball on the ground at some point when he got there, so it's probably just to check that nothing happened before that. He has sent it up as a try.
It's difficult to get it under the ground from there.
Difficult to see from there, isn't it?
He's nowhere near it.
No, he's a body's length away, body's width.
He's nowhere near it.
No, well, the confusion here is, I'll tell you what the confusion is, there's a white line which is part of the sponsor's logo, which is in the in-goal area by about a foot or 6 inches. So the try line is 6 inches further up from that picture. That white line you can see there near the blue is the sponsor's logo.
Understood.
I think this is a good call from Richard Silverwood.
So he will have sent it up. He will have seen it on the ground at the point that he got there, which is why he will have sent it up as a try.
That's a try.
So,
Stuart, I retract. You're right.
Thank you.
It is confusing, and Richard Silverwood would be entitled to be confused as well, because the try line is from that picture about 6 inches to the right of the big white line we can see, isn't it?
And worse than Stuart being right, Rob's right.
Richard Silverwood's issue with this is that when he went down to the ground, he was on the opposite side of the tackle.
Yes.
When he came round, he will have seen the ball on the ground.
Yeah.
So although he's seen the ball on the ground, he hasn't seen the grounding, and that's why he'll have sent it up. So this is probably confirmation of his decision to award the try.
Okay. Phil Bentham is the man at the controls, and it is a try to St Helens. And John Wilkin has levelled the scores. He was over the try line. He had got the ball down, and the returning Saints skipper missed the last game through suspension. Has got the game-tying try.
Well, as the ultimate pro, playing a number of positions, playing in half-back this afternoon, but here's the offload from Asatasi. Again, leads to that field position. All the hard work from Gene Holmes. We take Tommy Makinson out of the field of play. But that's what John Wilkin can do. He attracts players. He's got the ball in 2 hands. Is he going to pass it? No, at the last minute. He tucks it under his right wing and crashes over. Too much experience from that man.
It should be a regulation conversion for Tommy Makinson, and he strokes it through to give St Helens the lead for the first time in this match as we approach the hour mark at St James's Park. Warrington have led from start to finish, but now Saints have the lead.
Well, Wilkin, the try scorer, Wilkin involved in the build-up to this. Remember, he kicked the ball in the in-goal, forced a goal line dropout. Then Laithwaite decided to try and charge a kick down. Another set of 6 for St Helens, and that pressure that Long about at half-time began to build. John Wilkin then saw a creaking Warrington Wolves defence, took full advantage, Barry.
Well, they took full advantage of errors from Warrington, offload from Asatasi. You could hardly call the leg sticking out of James Laithwaite an error. It was the right thing to do. He had to get something in the way of that grubber through, but it led to a further set for Saints, and it led to the try from Wilkin as Roy has a chance to ponder exactly what's gone on up there.
I'm sure John Wilkin will pay a heck of a lot of credit to Josh Jones, who was in the next hole, meaning that there was fewer defenders. Somebody had to account for Josh Jones, and that could be the key for Saints. Players, support players, pushing up into that next hole.
Well, what's happened here? Gene Ormsby got to the ball, it was bouncing around like a pinball, and eventually Ormsby ended up in touch. But the question is, was he hauled into touch, shoved into touch, and the tackle been completed? Richard Silverwood's view is what exactly? It's a scrum down to Saints.
Well, he thought he was asking the touch judge, did Tommy Makinson knock the ball forward, or did it come off Gene Ormsby? So obviously, giving the ball head and feet to Saints. Gene Ormsby gets the ball, then he gets pushed into touch, so there wasn't a mistake from Saints. That's why they get head and feet.
Matty Fleming, the number 30 here, the number 30 has every right to keep going with that tackle. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
The ball bobbles. Gene Ormsby picks it up. He's sat on his backside, and as I said,
it's the knock on, isn't it?
Matty Fleming affects the tackle.
Well, Saints off the back of the scrum win, looking for further pain to be inflicted on the Warrington Wolves. Remember, at half-time, Warrington led 16-8, 2 Saints tries, 1 conversion, the turnaround 18-16 to St Helens here, and looking to go further clear. Ball is spilt. Not anything illegal, says Richard Silverwood, just a loose carry. Well, there's a loose carry from Stefan Ratchford, who's holding the ball in one hand, Ali Lawatiti style, and manages to keep hold of the ball.
Yeah, well, Kyler Moore under the sticks. He runs into the heart of the defence. Again, it's the two big fellas in Chris Hill and Ashton Sims that squeeze that ball out on contact.
This is turning into a seesaw struggle here between the Wolves and Saints. A nail-biter here in the middle match of the second day of the Magic weekend. The Wakefield cast to follow, a real nail-biter we've already seen from Huddersfield and Catalan Dragon. That ended all square, thanks to a last-minute try. Goodness me, how far forward was that? Well, it doesn't matter. They played on, amazingly enough, and in the end, Warrington lost possession. Free play for St Helens. And it will be, in the end, a penalty for a tackle off the ball. It was all happening at St James's Park for a moment or two, but the first pass here, well, I mean, you could measure that forward in yards rather than inches. Anyway, it didn't matter. Saints eventually will get the penalty off the back of it all.
Yeah, I would argue that that pass isn't forward. It might have travelled forward, but it was passed backwards out of his hands.
Goodness me, he must have put some spin on that, Stuart.
He must have done.
Oh, my goodness. Anyway, it all ends up with a St Helens penalty, which they pumped it into touch. Either way, it matters not now, does it? Westwood, who's Barnett is covered in paint off the pitch there. An extraordinary start for Benny Westwood. Massoy is back on. Bowling ball into Skittles' challenge from Mossy Massoy.
That's how big he is. There's not many people that can push Chris Hill back like that.
Goodness. LMS going close to the line. Louis McCarthy, Scarsbrook. Chris Hill is there to muscle up. Three Wolves round him, held up over the try line, says referee Richard Silverwood. They'll go back 10, and the tackle count will restart.
Well, he sees the secret weapon at the minute, Mossy Massoy. Every time he gets the ball, he pulls numbers in. There's space on the edge.
I'm not sure it could be described as a secret. That's he's spilt that one, hasn't he? Deary
Curse
me.
on him.
I'm not sure he can be quite described as a secret. He's hardly incognito out there, is he? Anyway, the big man spilled the pill there, and Warrington pick it up. And these are big moments in this match, with Saints up by 2. A converted try from St Helens wouldn't quite nail the game down, but it'd be close to it. And now Warrington are given a penalty by referee Richard Silverwood. This is a real seesaw struggle, isn't it? Tit for tat stuff.
Well, the penalty's given away. You can see the markers. Both of them need to be standing behind each other. They're not squirt, and it's Luke Thompson, the man who goes into that tackle. Both sides are giving penalties away near the opposition's line.
Terry, you and Barry have mentioned names already in the commentary. Sean Long and Lee Breers. It's a moment like this in this game, in a game like this, that a player needs to stand up in a ball-playing position and take the game by the scruff of the neck. It's got to be a Myler, it's got to be a Wilkin, it's got to be a Travis Burns or a Declan Patton. Somebody has got to stamp their mark on the game, because we haven't seen it from either of the set of halves yet.
Call here for Richard Silverwood. I thought it was knocked on by Warrington into a Saints man.
And I'm going to throw another couple of names in there as well. We talked about James Roby already, and when he went off in the first half, Saints were patchy to say the least. But Darryl Clark has had little to no influence on this game. There's the shot and the fumble from Ratchford. He had attention, and that's why he couldn't get that ball. James Roby, phenomenal player, highest work rate.
All that the forwards are needing here, Brian, I totally agree with you. They just want to be pointed in the direction of the opposition's try line. They want to be told what hole to hit, and it's those key men who are on the big contracts. They're brought in to create opportunities. They're the ones who need to stand up, especially when there's only 15 minutes to go and you're starting to get tired.
You saw there 8 years ago that James Roby was named Man of Steel. That's how long Roby has been at the very peak of the British game, and still the #1 hooker in the game, and still the best all-round player in the competition.
No doubt a modern great, no doubt. People will talk about James Roby, certainly at St Helens, but fans of rugby league should talk about James Roby for years and years to come. He's a phenomenal player.
Was it too... Oh, what a shot from Benny Westwood.
Well, Westwood probably still smarting after missing the tackle for that Jordan Turner line break or tackle bust, and the try off the bat from Adam Swift. Hook's kick from John Wilkin, not exactly where he was aiming, I'm sure, and Gene Ormsby collects it, but there is a posse of Saints to hunt him down and really get the shove on. Travis Burns doing some defensive duties there, the creative standoff. Ratchford, wearing 6 in the Warrington side, has the ball now, but he's knocked down.
Well, again, that was a poor kick from Saints, but kicking on the 4th play, Warrington alert to that, because they dropped both wingers back, they dropped the full-back back, so they cut the space down for John Wilkin.
Saints, as we mentioned, looking for their first Magic Weekend win since 2010. It's been a long time in between drinks on the Magic Weekend for Saints. Kieran Cunningham's crew are now 13.5 minutes away from winning. Ball is offloaded, picked up by Myler. Myler puts the hammer down. Knocked down by John Wilkin and Jordan Turner. That was an important tackle. Offload from Chris Hill started him going. Chris Bridge knocks it forward the outside of his right boot, heading for the in-goal area. There's trouble for St Helens here, and Adam Swift has to clean it up at the expense of a dropout.
Well, they scored off that in the first half, didn't they? The reverse kick back. I think it was Ben Harrison who scores on that one. Then this time it's Stephen Ratchford who's pushing up. And good communication.
It was a good set of 6 from Warrington. They made good meters. An offload from Chris Hill, he just flops it out of the back, and then the reaction from Richie Myler. You're right, Rod. Dropped the hammer and ate up 20-25 metres for his team. Chris Hill, another great player. Here's the offload. It's not a pretty one, but it's about what happens next.
Well, there's messages being screamed from the sideline. I think it's Lee Breers down there. It is Lee Breers. Messages going to Declan Patton and to Richie Myler. 2 into the middle seem to be the call.
Well, there's a few things going on here as well.
Yeah, Louis McCarthy-Strasbrook was down. It's amazing how many times a player gets injured in an offside position when there's a dropout, isn't it? Uncanny.
It's cramp.
Yeah. I'm sure it is. I'm not going to argue with.
I'm just getting a message as well that Jordan Turner's dislocated one of his fingers and he's getting some attention. Yeah. Nasty ones then when your fingers facing the wrong way. Somebody walks over with that smile and grin on his face.
Thanks for that graphic image, Barry.
And he says,
kind of it.
Shut your eyes for a minute.
Well, it's not the ideal sport to play with a dislocated finger, is it, rugby league, to be honest with you? But he's still out there, Jordan Turner. He's had a big impact in this game. He created that try for Adam Swift. That was the one that got Saints going.
It's just one of those tough jobs, Rod. You've got to get on with it. No matter how much it hurts. Chris Hill on this occasion not looking to offload.
Warrington behind, in front for most of this match, but now trailed by 2. But knocking on the door here with 12.5 minutes to go. Myler is caught in possession. Darryl Clark is in there to organise things. Sims says, give it to me. Sims goes forward. Sims can only get to within 8 metres, and Jones comes in to make an important tackle with Kyle Amore. Now Myler, long pass, it's spilled. It was a good shot. It forced the error. Swift on Bridge, ball knocked on. Saints head and feed.
Do you know, they were caught short then, Saints, on the left edge, and Adam Swift was aware of the danger. When this ball goes out, he comes in, and when you sink in like that, we've talked about it in the first half with players sinking in, leaving gaps. When you do that, you've got to close down the opportunity, and Chris Bridge loses that ball because that's a perfect tackle.
Just a turnover, my apologies, of course it was on the last tackle as Bridge got the rib tickler from Adam Swift. Now this is when Kieran Cunningham will be calling for conservatism. He will not want to see anything nonsensical, no silly offloads here in this part of the field.
Just over 10 minutes to go. How do you see it, boys? Can you call it?
No,
it's that close.
Yeah, potentially both sides have
come on, man, just say one. There's only 3 possible outcomes.
Then.
Have a
Warrington.
stab, right?
Warrington.
Thank you. Saints by 2 here, and slow to get up here, Alex Walmsley. One of the great success stories from the lower leagues, making his name in Super League, a bit like Chris Hill in the opposite side of the field, and Benny Westwood was involved there, Bridge, and Alex Walmsley. Very slow to get up, the big man.
I think he just catches an elbow or a knee accidentally, of course.
It's just a heavy challenge from Ben Westwood, I think.
This has been a brutal battle, hasn't it? This is a proper brutal battle, isn't it? Walmsley, who scored for Saints in defeat at the Magic Weekend last weekend, as you mentioned, Lou McCarthy-Scarsbrook taking another breather as well, but this has been a real hard game.
It's just been a total full-blooded contest, but that's what you want, isn't it? And as I say, I think the big stage brings it out, the best out of the fans, the best out of the players, and there's definitely Like you talked before, Rod, about players just taking the time, and are they injured, are they not injured? I'm telling you now, with time going down, you don't want to slow play the ball. So there's definitely, or there was a problem with Alex Walmsley.
Wilkin very deep there, and the long pass from the dummy half position from James Roby, giving plenty of room to give it the full welly up to the other end. If Saints win this game, they'll move to within a point of the Super League summit. Rhinos on 23, Saints would go to 22, Wigan will be on 21, or are on 21. And that's the way it will pan out if Saints hold on to this advantage, and they've got just over 10 minutes to protect the 2-point lead that they're holding thanks to 2 second-half tries from Swift and captain John Wilkin. And now it's Chris Bridge who can't make any progress. Darryl Clark the scampering run from dummy half, the characteristic run that we saw so often for the Castleford Tigers last season from Darryl Clark, making his 100th Super League appearance today. The man of steel is there again. Back it goes to Patton, and Patton can punt those kicks as high as anyone in Super League. A monstrous bomb, brilliantly taken by Makinson. Fantastic claim.
What a great defensive set from St Helens. This stage in the game, when there's fatigue out there, they restricted the yards of the Warrington Wolves. They didn't concede a penalty, they didn't take any shortcuts, and then they defused the bomb at the very end. That's very good play without the ball.
Makinson looking to get involved here, but they ignore him this time, Saints. They find Walmsley, who's back on his feet and is refusing to take a breather and is charging forward like a bull. Roby, who's got through it's been a tremendous performance this from James Roby off the back of walking off woozily with a possible concussion. He's been wonderful this afternoon again.
He just needs one quick play of the ball. I suppose people like Alex Walmsley will be trying to give him that, but it's, again, the battle, the defensive battle that both these teams are involved in that's preventing Darryl Clark or James Roby getting that fast play of the ball and the spaces around that play of the ball, around that ruck area.
Well, Warrington needs something here. They need something either spectacular from themselves, a penalty or a Saints error inside the Saints half, because at the moment you feel they're struggling to score from deep. It had been their trademark over the years, but they just don't look like they're going to score from deep at the moment. Maybe they can hear from Ormsby. Can he make a break? No, he can't. Makinson on the stop.
Sorry, Rod, that could be the difference. Whichever team's the most disciplined could go on to win this game.
Yeah, nip and tuck, and Saints, of course, with the big advantage of having the 2-point lead. They don't need to score. Ransford makes the break. Ransford holding the ball in one hand, his left hand coming to this near side. This is sensational from Ransford. Ormsby! Gene Ormsby! Ormsby, has he scored another super try? Another piece of acrobatic action from Gene Ormsby. Has he got it down this time, and has he put Warrington back in front?
Well, that's Gene Ormsby done a Tommy Makinson on Tommy Makinson. He scored a hat-trick last week when he played against Salford. Some incredible skills to get the ball down. Stuart, what's your first thoughts?
Well, they're going to look for 2 things. First of all, the pass off the ground from Ben Harrison here. Does the ball-carrying arm hit the ground? Well, you can see that it does there. Is he held at the same time? I think the tackler's got hold of his shorts, so that could be classed as being held. Ball-carrying arms hit the ground, and he's held.
So it's that little pinch on the shorts, which means he's held.
He's got hold of him. He's held on the ground. So therefore, he can't pass the ball.
Wow.
Well, if it is to be, we don't even know if Ormsby's got the ball down yet, but on that fraction, on such fractions, has one of the most spectacular Magic Weekend tries been chalked off, I wonder. We don't know whether he's got the ball down yet, because the video ref will go through it stage by stage, and I think it is going to be disallowed, as Stuart made quite clear, and it is going to be disallowed, and it will be a penalty for passing the ball on the floor after being tackled.
Well, stand up, Kyler Moore. He debuted back in 2009 for Whitehaven, went on to play for Leeds Wakefield, and now he's at Saints. And that could just be the turning point for Saints.
Well, it has been disallowed, but did he actually get it down anyway? That's what people will be asking. As Ormsby done the trapeze artist act again, and he has got it down again, and he is denied what would have been, for the second week running, one of the most spectacular tries we've ever witnessed in Super League. Tough luck on Gene Ormsby and Tony Smith.
Just huge effort. So there's some talented youngsters, and Gene Ormsby to score that try. Well, if the tackle wasn't complete.
Well, from a Saints perspective, the door is ajar now. What they need to do is kick that door open, run in and score a meat pie and take these points.
Well, on such fractions, the match could be decided. Can still change, 7.5 minutes to go, but Ormsby is making an art form out of the acrobatic. This way he gets himself in mid-air and takes the hit in mid-air and still somehow controls his body shape and gets the ball down. It's quite remarkable.
Yeah, incredible. The real athletes aren't it, that play this game. And different player to Tommy Makinson. He's very aggressive, Gene Holmes. He ran out of the footwork, but he's very good scoring those tries. He can take his chances.
McCarthy Scarsbrook has spilt the ball as we watch. Ormsby again.
Oh, here we go. Ball steal here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, ball steal.
It is as well. Yeah, it looks to the naked eye as though it had been spilt by LNS.
Now, there's a big call there. Do you go for 2 points? And if you do go for 2 points and you kick it...
No, they won't do that.
Well, you receive the ball near your own try line.
Yeah, that's why they won't do it. Oh, well,
I think they're going to do it.
Well, I'm surprised because, as you rightly point out, the difference between 2 and 4 is negligible, and you are running the risk, as you point out, Terry. Well, for a start, Warrington can go for the short kick-off.
Yes.
That's point 1. Point 2, if Saints do get the kick-off, they could make a mistake.
Yes. Those big hitters that Warrington have out on the pitch at the minute could go to just hunting numbers, the likes of Chris Hill, the likes of Ashton Sims.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if you ask Tony Smith what you want Saints to do here, Tony Smith would say, I hope they kick the penalty.
I agree, Rod, I agree.
Yeah.
Slows the game down, the pressure and the kettle that was boiling a minute ago just has time to stop bubbling a little bit.
The other thing it also does is the referee will allow them a minute from when the penalty is awarded before he calls time off, so it winds the clock down a little bit as well.
Yes, that is true. Although if they kicked it into touch, Stuart, and took a tab, it's 5 tackles would take some out, wouldn't it? But anyway, Kieran Cunningham's made the decision. He's got to kick it yet, mind you, hasn't he? He's not a certainty. He has kicked it. Saints by 4 then, off the back of that penalty from Makinson. Saints 20, Warrington 16, 5.5 minutes left as Warrington get a wriggle on to get the kick-off taken.
And for Warrington, they've got to go short, haven't they?
You would have thought so, Terry, yeah.
Don't kick it deep. If you go short, you run the risk of turning the ball over to Saints, and then within a couple of plays you're defending in your own half. Kick the ball short, get your numbers pushing up. The likes of Ben Curry, Ryan Atkins, Gene Ormsby here. Could be any one of those 3.
Goes deep.
Go long.
He has gone long. Right up to the try line. 20 points to 16 then. Remember, Warrington within an ace of going in front. When James Ormsby thought he'd scored, it was pulled back for a penalty to St Helens, and off the back of that, Saints scoring again by another 2-pointer from Makinson to lead by 4, but the game going down to the wire with less than a score between the teams.
Well, Rod, the only reason why you go long from the kick-off there is to hunt the mistake, and they've not done that in this set.
What a carry, James Roby.
But again, it's come off the back of Mossy Masai's run, hasn't it?
I talked about the quick play of the balls, and you pointed it out maybe in the first half that the speed of the play of the ball dictates who's going to win in the modern game. James Roby picked up 30 metres then easily.
He did. International class performance from Roby. McCarthy Scarsbrook, an impressive display too from the former London Bronco. Looking to milk a penalty there, LMS, not given. Wilkin back for the 1-pointer. He's hooked, I'm not quite sure. Some of these tactics from Saints are pretty strange to say the least. That would have took them ahead from 5 ahead instead of 4, but again back to the same argument, they'd have run the risk of turning the ball over in their own line. I mean,
yeah, well, they're quite happy with that. They've got through the set of 6. That was probably their best set of 6, wasn't it, bringing the ball away? Warrington's probably worst defensive set of 6.
But would they have been better off just grubbling up to the try line and say you've got to go 95 metres?
Stick it in the air, make a contest of it.
Anyway, they've conceded a penalty now, St Helens. Silverwood blows the whistle. 3 minutes 44 left as the Wolves bang it into touch, and they'll start again near halfway. Is this game going to have a dramatic twist, a bit like the last one between Huddersfield and Catalan, when Jermaine McGilvery scored in the corner right on the buzzer, and Danny Brough landed the touchline conversion to tie the scores between the Dragons and the Giants. Here, Warrington trail by 4. They haven't scored a single point in the second half. They led 16-8 at half-time, the Wolves. They trail 2016 right now. Myler to Hill. Hill looking to hand off to St Helens defenders. Can't do so, but has taken Warrington forward. Got the impetus into this attack. Myler, Patton, Ratsford to Atkins. Atkins to Ormsby. Ormsby steps inside. Can't get away from the tackle. Back to Ratsford. The dancing feet of the fullback. Looking to offload left-handed. Can't get it out the back door. Still got a couple of tackles left in this sequence. Warrington, and maybe a couple more sets to follow. Maybe they can force a repeat set. Ashton Sims in centre field. Close to the try line. Last tackle here for the Wolves. Clark. Myler grubbers through. Atkins is there. Atkins can't get it down. Was Atkins taken out off the ball? No, says Richard Silverwood. He blows straight away for the goal line dropout. But Warrington feel that maybe Ryan Atkins was bundled off the ball.
No, I'm not so sure. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think Fleming, I don't think he does enough. Yeah, there's shoulder-to-shoulder contact, but there's not a problem with that, is there, Stuart?
No, he's just got in front of him. I think that's absolutely fine. They're both contesting the ball.
Well, they've got the second prize, Warrington and Tony Smith.
It's a quality kick from Deck Patton,
Very good.
You know, Louis McCarthy again, he's suffering with cramp. Just gets back behind the line.
2.5 minutes left. Warrington, all things being equal, are going to get the ball back here with another assault on the Saints line. They're a try behind. They need a converted try to win it right on the bell. Sims gets the motor running.
Well, this is all on now, all hands on deck. You're a Warrington player, just listen to what Richie Myler's saying. He's directing, he's pushing, he's prodding.
So's Darryl Clark, who's now at the ruck here, looking to see where there might be a potential gap in this St Helens defence. A wide ball to Monaghan. Monaghan is manhandled by 3 St Helens men. He never had a chance to get moving in a forward direction. 3 tackles used up by the Warrington Wolves. Chris Bridge going from dummy half. Monaghan was hunting inside, looking for a try-scoring opportunity. Now players getting in each other's way. Richard Myler saying get back on the other side. This is a bit of a mishmash. He offloads. No, he doesn't. He holds on. Last tackle then for Warrington. They need to force another set of 6 here because time is of the essence. Now they come back to Curry, to Atkins. Ormsby looking for something spectacular. The door is shut. Can he offload? No, he can't. And that is very close to the game. Oh, no, penalty! Oh. Penalty blown by Richard Silverwood, my goodness. That's a big call. That's a big moment. The clock is stopped also with 78 seconds left here, and offside on the goal line burns the guilty party. Another set. Oh, my.
Hold your nerve.
This is it now then. This set will determine the game. Chris Bridge running sideways into the hands of George King. King to within a couple of metres. Can Saints hold out and win the game, or will Warrington score and win it themselves? Well picked up by Myler. Patton looks for options. Batted on. Knocked on by Warrington. That could be it. Darryl Clark it was who swung an arm at him.
Ron, I think both edge players for Saints have come up with some try-saving plays. The set before this, Chris Bridge went short side. He was picked off by Adam Swift, who saved 2 tries in my opinion. And again, that perfect timed shot was exceptional from Saints.
It's Tommy Makinson who takes the gamble.
That's brilliant.
And collides with the Warrington player. He's hurt himself as well. These rugby league players,
well,
everything to admire about the modern day rugby league player. Puts his body on the line.
The Saints now looking to run this clock down, get through the set of 6. Oh, they haven't done it. They have not done it. Well, that is a blunder from Turner, who's been so good in the centres. What's the referee Silverwood blown here?
Double knock on.
Now then, they need to stop the clock. They need to get the scrum back very, very quickly. You'd think there's enough time for the scrum, or is there? But the siren goes. He's stopped the clock. Richard Silverwood stops the clock right on the button. There'll be time for one more play. No, it won't be. No, it won't be.
The siren's gone. That sounds the end of the game.
The siren goes. Warrington felt they'd packed the scrum before it went, and it hadn't. And Kieran Cunningham's side have won. The Wolves unhappy. They feel that scrum should have been packed down. Stephen Ratsford is furious. So is Chris Hill. Richard Silverwood is not interested. The game is over. St Helens have won. They've come back from a 16-8 half-time deficit to win 20 points to 16. This is what happened. Well, Richard Silverwood blows time off. Well, as far as Richard Silverwood's concerned, the siren went before the time-off signal was given. The scrum was never formed. The whistle had gone. Close, contentious, but in the end, St Helens, off the back of that second-half rally between the tries from Swift and from Wilkin have got them home 20 points to 16. Wow, that was breathtaking.
There was some big performances, wasn't there, on short? Louis McCarthy, Scarsbrook, I thought he stood up. Alex Walmsley, James Rugby. Brilliant plays, but somebody's got to lose, haven't they, Rod?
And it is Warrington been beaten. St Helens then back into second spot in the Super League, just a point off the top. And the man of the match, James Roby, is down talking to Angela Powers.
James Roby, man of the match. That was an excellent second half from your perspective. You kept them from scoring.
Yeah, it was. You know, we talked about that at half-time. We needed to obviously rectify a few wrongs and really dig deep. We know Warrington are obviously a fantastic team, and you know we needed to be at our best. And it was a big defensive effort that second half.
And you went down with what could have been concussion, but straight back on after the 15 minutes and made a big difference in this game.
Yeah, obviously I got a bit of a knock on the head. Obviously went down and got assessed by the doctor, but you know I felt fine and I passed all the medical tests that you need to pass. So yeah, I was lucky enough I could come back on and obviously you know do my part for the team.
What does this mean to you, this win?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's you know we've got a big set of games, if you like, coming up now, and obviously this was one of them, and we needed to get the win. And you know, it's come to Magic. Obviously they've got the better of us the last few years, haven't they? And you know made a show of us last year, to be honest. So you know you could say we own one, and luckily today we dug deep and got the result.
You said you've got to grind this game out, and you did, didn't you? That's what you needed to do.
Yeah, it probably wasn't the fanciest game to watch, but like I say, you know, we're not bothered as long as we win and get 2 points. That'll do us.
And they're a hard team, aren't they? They're a really hard team to sort of stop, and you managed to do that, and not many teams do.
Yeah, well, they're a fantastic team, Warrington. You know, they've got a massive, you know, good pack up front. Chris Hill and you know Benny Westwood and you know Ashton Sims. They all carry the ball very well. And then on the back of that, you know, they can throw it about with the best of them. So you've got to have your wits about you, and you've got to have your defensive structure in place. And like I say, luckily enough, the effort was there tonight, and it got us through.
Congratulations.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, revenge, they say, is sweet, and St Helens have been put to the sword at the Magic the last couple of years by Warrington Wolves. But in 2015, they've turned the tables. 20 points to 16. They were 16-8 down at half-time. So apart from anything else, they kept Warrington with all their firepower out wide. They kept them scoreless in that second half. A very important victory that for the Saints, who go second in the first utility Super League table tonight. Right, let's take a look at that through the eyes of John Wells and Brian Carney again.
Thank you very much, Eddie. 2 games down, 2 games dominated by the last 20 minutes, where all the highlights were, all the action was. You'll have noted some brilliant defensive plays from Adam Swift and Tommy Makinson in the last 10 minutes of that game that we've just seen there. And we're going to start with a look at Adam Swift, his work in defence and his try at the start of that second half, John.
Before we get to Adam Swift, I agree with you. I think the tackle we saw in the last minute of that game from Tommy Makinson coming off the right wing was essentially a game saver, not just a try-saving tackle there. We'll start though with a clip. First of all, the first one we're going to show you is Adam Swift. First of all, saving a try at one end of the field, and then getting his rewards at the top end of the field by being able to be in the right place at the right time to get it. So if we can have a look at that footage itself, you can see we've highlighted Adam Swift for you. What about this, first of all, just for a chase? A goer. You get a long way in this league by just being a goer. That is superb, and he's kept St Helens in the game there. And then he gets his rewards at the other end of the field. And Saints' second try was a little bit of poor defence here too.
They're trailing at this point, John, 8 points to 16. This Swift try will bring it back to 4 points in it.
Yeah, that's right. I think winger's position, which we'll come to again later on in this analysis, is vitally important, and that's something there that Adam Swift has developed in his game, hugging his touchline, and I thought it was an excellent start to that second 40.
The word at half-time from Sean Long and Kieran Cunningham was that St Helens needed to build pressure if they were to go and have a chance in this game, and sustained pressure paid off with a try from John Wilkin. Talk us through the build-up to that try. Well,
again, and I'm getting sick of saying this, and I don't know whether it's me taking a personal opinion on this, but players playing at the ball in situations where they've got clear cover. Now, again, I've played a bit of fullback and so have you, and on the wing. You want a clear, undisturbed line of sight for the ball. I understand why they try and put pressure on the kicker, but once there's a kick being put away, now it's Laithwaite I'm talking about here. So I'll just highlight him for you very briefly. This is Laithwaite, and he's going to put a kick. He's going to stick a leg out for a kick. But I want to take your view across to Chris Bridge, who's sitting in the back here, dropping out for cover. You've got your right winger, Monaghan, who's coming out for cover. He's sitting over here. And then you've got Stefan Ratchford, who's coming across from the inside. So there's 3 people who are cleaning up that potential kick. So why Laithwaite sticks a kick out and gives another set of 6 away. And that, I would find that very frustrating as a back three. Let's switch to the behind the play. Now Savelio, he runs straight through Brad Dwyer. It's important to have a look at Brad Dwyer here, because there's Brad Dwyer, and he's the man who's going to circle around the back here and eventually get done by John Wilkin. John Wilkin at the top of your screen, who's already organising his men outside, as much for distraction as it is for a pass option. And again, Dwyer gets no pace off the line because he's probably still clearing his head. Really timely try by John Wilkin.
Yes, and the try that put St Helens ahead for the first time in that game, 18 points to 16. It's a cliche, but it is a game of inches, John.
In this case, it's a game of millimetres, and it is so cruel because we were denied.
No try here was a warranted game winner.
We were denied one of the best tries we're ever likely to see in the Magic weekend, and there's lots of elements to this that are worth watching. We've broken it up for you because the first part is fairly self-explanatory. This is what we're talking about, inches, and it is just a little nudge on the floor, just there with the right arm, and that's why the try gets knocked off. But it's worth watching this because Stefan Ratchford in Broken Field is a joy to watch. Because Stefan Ratchford, and what makes him so effective, Brian, is the wingmen, they understand how he plays. He needs lateral space as well as space up and down the field. So that hugging the touchline from Gene Ormsby shows a great understanding of what his teammates.
And a tempo in your run.
It's superb, and you know it's going to go down as one of the greatest tries that never was. But it's a game decided by millimetres, this one, and well done to Saints. Thoroughly deserved that.
Absolutely did, and I'm sure their coach Kieran Cunningham is a very happy and relieved man.
I'm sure he is, and hopefully we'll be talking to Kieran and Tony Smith after we take a look at this table and how tight is it now at the top. Wigan's win against Leeds yesterday put them second overnight. St Helens have got back there a point behind Leeds, so it's 23 Leeds, 22 Saints, 21 Wigan, and Huddersfield 3 points adrift. Warrington now 5th. They are 2 points off the Huddersfield Giants, and remember the top 4 is the crucial places for qualification possibilities for the grand final come October. Long way to go yet though. Kieran Cunningham will know that. He's the coach of Saints. He's with Angela now.
Kieran, you ground out that win. You ground out that win.
Yeah, we did. It was pretty much a tale of two halves. I think Warrington had the lion's share of possession in the first half, and we did our best to lose the game. And the second half, we come out. We had a little bit of a chat at half time, and we come out with a real resilient, attitude, and we kicked our sets out. And we knew if we stayed in an arm wrestle, then we'd be in with the game. We'd been with a chance, and we took the lead, and we started dropping the ball again and not maintaining that pressure that was building, and we got to be our own worst enemies a little bit. But all credit to the players, they just hung in there for everything. I'm proud of them because they could have made that excuse, that it just wasn't our week and queuing the rack, and we'll look forward to next week. But they were determined today.
You didn't let them score in the second half as well, and that must be just as pleasing for you.
It was. I mean, all credit to my players. They did a great job, and commiserations to Warrington. I thought they're a great side, and they threw a hell of a lot at us. But we work hard on our defence, and stuff like that's really pleasing for us as coaches, and pleasing for the boys to watch on video. Thank you very much.
They will enjoy looking at that and reviewing it on video this week. No doubt about that. They kept Warrington scoreless second half. What did their coach say about it all? Tony Smith with Angela now.
Tony, that was a second half completely different from the first from your perspective and lost you the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a case of two halves. I thought we were very, very good the first half and let in a try that ricocheted in the kick, and it was a little bit unfortunate to concede. I was really pleased with the way we defended the first half, but second half we were rubbish. We were rubbish with the ball, and really soft defensively after such a strong first half.
Thanks for that, Tony.
Thank you.
There you go then. It's resulted in the St Helens victory, and Steve-O and I have been watching it here. We've got the best seats in the house, haven't we, for watching this Magic weekend. That was a great game and a real grind from Saints. We don't really associate St Helens with grinding defensive displays, but that was one.
Yeah, I think you've got to say that, Kieran Cunningham, the coach, realises there are times when you've got to close a game down. Once they got in front, they did that. Remarkable defence. And the Warrington, they're getting a little bit like Huddersfield Giants, in effect, that they get to the front, but they can't finish off the opposition. If they're going to get to the grand final, they've got to make sure that they can just put the opposition away. They're failing to do that.
Okay, it's 8 wins from 16 matches for Warrington. in the recent run. 50% success rate for them. I tell you what, there is one man who has joined us here in the studio area now who would swap that win ratio, because I've got, and Steve-O alongside us, we've got Michael Carter here, who is the chairman of the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. And Michael, there's a lot of speculations, a lot of talk about who your new coach is going to be. You have now finalised the deal. You can tell the nation via Sky Sports. Who is the new man?
Well, I'm very proud to announce, Eddie, that our new head coach, as of this moment in time, is Brian Smith. You know, obviously Brian Smith is a worldwide name in rugby league. He comes with the highest pedigree, and I think it's a real coup for a club like Wakefield Trinity that we've managed to attract somebody of his ilk.
Well, it is indeed. And how did the deal come about? I mean, did he approach you? Did you approach him? What's the story?
It's very interesting, actually, because he actually sent a text message via our previous head coach, James Webster, who was kind enough to pass that on to me, pretty much applying for the job. I managed to have a couple of chats with Brian over the phone. You know, he spoke fantastically well of what he'd like to achieve with us. And in fairness, we had a really high calibre of candidate apply for the job, but having spoken to Brian, you know, it was quickly became an easy decision to make.
And what is the appointment? Is it a number of years, a number of months? Where do you go? Because you might, I hate to say this to you, you might be in the championship next year.
Yeah, you know.